of the internet.
We're now on YouTube. Hello.
Take me to your leader.
Take me to the YouTubes. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna post. Okay. And about start now.
Okay, I'm ready to give it a go.
Okay. Let's try all of this, shall we? Right. Okay. I'm starting the show.
Linux Outlaws is proudly sponsored by Bytemark UK. Check out their Big V platform for all your web hosting needs. Find out more at bytemark.co.uk. Six Gun Productions. New media, new rules.
Hello, everybody. This is Linux Outlaws episode 367. This time for reals. I'm Fab from Germany.
Hey, and I'm Dan from Liverpool.
I said that last week as well in the intro.
Did you?
I said 367, even though back then it was 366.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. That. So there you go. I wonder how many people did notice, or how many people will mention it. Has anyone mentioned it yet? It only came out podcast yesterday, so
yeah. So I didn't give him much chance for feedback. Although we have a lot of feedback, so that's not the problem.
We have got a lot of feedback.
Feedback left over. This is 4 shows left, including this one. I'm resurrecting Beer of the Week.
Cool. That's been an old favorite.
Since it's ending. This week's Beer of the Week is Kloster Andex. Since 1455, which is the German monastery. I've been there. This is where they filmed a lot of the inside shots for the movie version of The Name of the Rose. With Sean Connery,
Oh, was that supposed to be Sean Connery? I think you'll find that chance nothing like me.
It doesn't. It's a nice monastery. It's really nice up on a hill. And this says Genuss für Leib und Seele. So it's indulgence for the body and the soul.
Okay, for a minute there, I thought you were going to say GNU at the start.
GNU.
It has GNU.
GNU for the body and the soul.
It's GNU plus beer, or GNU/beer,
it's
or the
German GNU piss. Yes, and GNU piss.
There is a I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I don't know why I would have done, but there is a thing in, I think it's Norway, or it might even be up towards the North Pole and stuff. To do that thing with reindeer piss, where you can get high off it. Yeah. Yeah. So what happens is, so a bit of trivia for you.
You got this from Kevin Smith, don't you?
No, I actually read this years ago, but he has mentioned it since. You can. What they do is these reindeer and elk and whatever eat these mushrooms, which make them, which are like hallucinogenic. But when they piss it out, there's traces of
something Simon would talk about on the Yoxcast.
Yeah, so they eat this stuff anyway, and when they go to the toilet, have a piss or whatever, the stuff is still in it. It's been through their body. It's in filtered through their body, but it's still in it. And you can drink it and get high. Apparently, it's a traditional thing that.
Do you have to lie down under the bloody elk or something?
I think you'd probably get it in a bucket and have a glass or something. I don't know.
But you have to do you have to run with the bucket after the elk to when it's...
I've no idea. Maybe there's some kind of attachment or
Do you
something.
just tie them up until they have to piss?
Something like that, yeah.
Can't you just eat the fucking mushrooms? That piss must taste horrible. I mean,
no, I think
horrible.
it's not mushrooms. It's some kind of berries. But I think the problem is that if you were to eat the berries, they'd be poisonous to humans without being without first being filtered by a reindeer or whatever.
Come on, we have technology. Can you have a fake reindeer? Can we improve this
a fake reindeer?
Bit? I mean, you basically just filter it. We've got filter technology. This is the 21st century.
Yeah.
Come on.
You probably can now, yeah. But what I'm talking about is it's a traditional thing that the locals do. That maybe they didn't always have that kind of technology, and it became
yummy piss. Anyway, I've just since I started before the show, I was eating leftover chili that the Katie made. Producer Katie on Saturday, and then by now, this is like the third day. It's got so hot because now, of course, chili, like you heat it up and the water goes out, so it gets hotter and hotter every day. It was fucking hot. So excuse me while I open my second bottle of GNU piss. So what have you been up to lately?
What have I been up to? I'm now looking up the facts on reindeer, reindeer piss and stuff.
Well, you have to put that in the show notes then.
All right, I'm looking it up. I'm frantically looking it up. It's
Sweden. Like Katie's going to Sweden in a week or two to visit friends. So I can ask her if it's from Sweden. I'll ask her if she brings me a bottle of reindeer piss over. I wonder if you can take that on the flight.
I'm fairly certain it's not like bottled for sale or anything, but you never know. Here we go. So
fresh from the reindeer. Delicious reindeer piss.
Here we go. So I'm looking at this. This is on Wikipedia of all places.
What's it called? Tiki.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. So they're talking about. It's on the page about this mushroom called Amanita muscaria. I think you would say
Amanita muscaria. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I can't say that properly. But obviously it has.
That's Amanita. They're very very unhealthy.
So I'm just looking. Here we go.
Bang.
I'm trying to find out. So it was this. This was the.
He says that and bangs the microphone with his head.
Yeah. So this was the thing that they used apparently, and the reindeer or whatever it was would eat it, and then after it had been through them or whatever, I don't know. I don't know how that really works.
That's toadstool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a big red thing. It's like one out of Mario or something.
Fly Amanita, yeah, that's very, very dangerous. Do not eat.
So it's has a psychoactive. Oh god, I can't say this. A psychoactive.
This is
basidomicrete.
Psychoactive use, Siberia.
There you go.
Soma Vikings, Christianity, culinary use.
Culinary, yeah.
The toxins in Amanita muscaria are water soluble when sliced thinly or finely diced and boiled in plentiful water until thoroughly cooked. It seems to be detoxified. People, Linux Outlaws does not endorse the consumption of any mushrooms. If you die or experience near-death experience, do not sue us. We're going off the air anyway.
Yeah. According to this, Siberia. So I was totally wrong with my Scandinavian thing, but I did mean somewhere very up north and cold and icy and all that. I knew that at least. The people of the Russian Far East, it says. So there you go. It says
at least in Siberia, the shaman,
there you go,
would take the mushrooms and others would drink his urine.
Okay, so that's like a person doing it.
Fresh off his bloody dick. I don't get it.
Oh, I don't know.
Like a living tap.
I mean, we drink cow milk, and that's. I know it's not the same thing, but it's a bit. Grabbing weird bits of animals is not that uncommon. I like the Billy Connolly thing about milk, where he says like, who first discovered you could get milk from cows, and what did they think they were doing at the time? So it's a good point. You got to think about it.
I'm gonna put this in the show notes.
Yeah, there you go.
Culinary use of fly Amanita.
Okay.
They put this into milk in Frankfurt.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. So, so the Germans are all tripping off the crazy milk, the magic milk. Yeah.
Albertus Magnus was the first to record it in his work De Vegetabilibus sometime before 1256, commenting, Vocator fungus muscarum eoquat in lacte pulverizatus infitiut muscas. It is called the fly mushroom because it is powdered in milk to kill flies.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
the
fair enough.
16th century Flemish botanist Carolus Clusius traced the practice of sprinkling it into milk to Frankfurt in Germany.
Okay.
People were insane. They sprinkle like.
Of course they were. They were all on mushrooms.
What the
They didn't know what was going on.
This explains why we lost all the knowledge in the Dark Ages.
Yeah, because everybody was too high, far too high. Yeah, all right. And if you want to read about that, we'll put a link in the show notes.
I'm working on that right now.
Yeah, this isn't Mushroom Outlaws or Fungus Outlaws.
That's oh god, I don't have a soundboard. I need like the thing.
That would work, wouldn't it? But this is I think this is where the whole Mario thing comes from. The idea that you eat a mushroom and then you grow into a big thing and then you can throw fire. For all we know, none of that was really happening. Mario was just tripping that much that he thought he was like so.
Thing. And like early Nintendo games, I think the weird Japanese guys who came up with this, they were all tripping. Like the old Mario Kart thing with the bananas and the fucking shells. Like I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck were they thinking, jumping on bloody turtles?
I don't know, but I'm glad
there's only one turtle that deserves to be jumped on. It's the fucking turtle that lives in my Firefox.
Right, okay. Oh, topical, yeah. Okay then. So I think we'll move on from that. But there you go. I didn't expect to get into that discussion, but yeah, there we go. So things that have happened in recent weeks. Anyway, Glenn Larson, who's the creator of Knight Rider and many other big TV shows from the 70s and 80s and stuff. Magnum, yeah. Quincy. I mean, Quincy's on all the time over here. It never ends. It's always a bloody same Quincy. But still, you end up watching it. It's always like, there's been somebody comes in, dead body. Obviously, it's Quincy. He's a coroner, and like dead body comes in, and he's like, they're going, it's accidental murder, it's accidental death, Quince. Just leave it alone. And he's like, it's murder, damn it, and I'm gonna prove it. and it's always the same, and he just does this. Yeah, he always tries to prove that it was a murder, and somehow in the end manages it. Meanwhile, who's doing all the work down at the fucking morgue? He gets sacked in no time. He's never where he's supposed to be. He's always off solving crimes or something, and somehow he gets away with it.
The next podcast should be old-time television show reviews with Dan.
Yeah, that would be quite good.
My aunt used to watch the fuck out of Quincy.
Yeah, I watched it myself
all the time.
Yeah, it was very popular. So anyway, Glenn Larson, he died at the age of 77.
Also a composer, apparently. He composed the Knight Rider theme and the orchestral soundtrack for Battlestar Galactica. So he was a crazy like Mormon dude. Because like the original Battlestar Galactica is full of like Mormon stuff, and they even toned it down. Like his original version, I think the series is called like an Ark or some Lost Ark or something like that. And they named it, they called it Galactica. And
Raiders of the Lost Ark? No, sorry.
And then the reason why it's called Battlestar Galactica, which is a fucking weird name, like Battlestar.
It is a weird name, yeah.
Apparently they wanted to capitalize on Star Trek and Star Wars, which was just in the cinemas. So they had to like do on Star in there somewhere. It's lucky that it wasn't called Galactica Star. Something with stars.
Star Galactica Star, yeah, in the stars. I think, that explains quite a lot. I wonder if he did the theme to Magnum, because I used to love that. He created Magnum, but that theme, the Magnum theme, was just amazing. To be fair, Knight Rider's pretty good as well. You got the whole. Yeah. That's been sampled loads of times.
Yeah, that's what they pointed out in the BBC article. That's been sampled all over the place.
Oh god, yeah. Was it? I think Busta Rhymes did "Fired Up." That was sampled off that. Yeah, there's loads of stuff on there. Very cool. Anyway, I've now got that.
You had something for weird show names as well. Like if you think about it, Knight Rider doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, I thought it was a pun. Wasn't it supposed to be a really bad pun?
Well,
Because the guy's called Michael Knight, and
yeah, he is. I mean, it is a pun, but why is it rider? It's a fucking car. You don't ride a
Good
car.
point, yeah. Well,
I
Night
always thought-
Driver wasn't quite as good.
Yeah, I always thought it's like, should it be about a motorcycle? A Night Driver.
Night.
That
Night
was the
Driver.
version with Chris Christopherson, the trucker version. And
Yeah,
they worked some of that in later with like the evil truck. Remember the
Oh
evil
yeah.
truck?
But he also had I don't remember the evil truck. I remember the good truck that he could drive onto the back of.
No, he had Car was the evil. Was it Car? Oh god.
Oh, I see the evil
knight.
the evil kit, if you like. Yeah,
No,
we're really
there
getting
was
off.
there was a truck.
It was a truck.
Let me
called-
Google Knight Rider evil truck.
Do you know, I'll be honest. Of all the things I had down to talk about tonight, I didn't think mushrooms was going to be a big conversation, and I didn't think like Knight Rider was going to be a big conversation. But now that it is, I'm glad that it is. Like, you know, go on. Sorry, you were going to say.
No, is something?
Have you found it?
Knight
now?
Rider fan facts. Goliath, apparently it's called. Is this okay? God, this page is colorful. Let me Goliath is a super truck that has the same shell as Kit. This was an awesome episode. If you watched this episode, then you most certainly thought that Kit was definitely dead. Alas, Kit made a full recovery.
Oh, right, okay.
Who writes this page? 5-year-olds?
I don't know. I used to like the way the car was always, well, it was clearly smarter than he was, and it used to kind of patronize him a bit.
Yeah.
You know, it'd always be like, you know, that is clearly a stupid idea, Michael. I think we should instead use my amazing plan and do this. And then he'd go, okay, kid.
With an awesome voice as well.
Had the very posh, voice, and it was like, I can't do that, Michael.
This is from a 2-part episode called Goliath. Maybe that was called Goliath. I don't know. What was the truck called? Yeah, I think the truck was called Goliath. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, now that we've cleared that up, and the question that the world wants answers to.
And of course there was Car, which was Kid's evil.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like lore in Next Generation. Always the evil, like.
There always has to be an evil version of the
Speaking of Battlestar Galactica.
Mm.
Now watch me chew on this in. The Raspberry Pi Model A Plus is out, which is a $20 version of the Raspberry Pi that I thought looks really cool. It's cheaper and it's smaller.
Okay.
And
I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah, but it doesn't have a network connection. And my reaction to this was on the a topic on the Saloon.
Mm-hmm.
And my reaction was like, computer without network connection? What the fuck? What is this, Battlestar Galactica? You know, in the new Battlestar, when they always go, oh, the silence attacking, pull the network connection!
Yeah, pull the Ethernet cable out.
That was a great episode.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, maybe I'm just thinking what I would use it for. I know the old Model A. I couldn't see what people would want to use it for, and then other people, you know, came up with ideas and stuff. So maybe it's just me.
Did the old Model A also not have a network connection?
I don't think it did. Let me
this
check.
is horrible. What's that? What do you use that? I mean, I guess it's for robotics and stuff.
Well, I was going to say not every application needs a network connection.
But like, even if you have robotics, if you're doing Arduino shit, wouldn't you want to just like SSH into the thing, like for?
Well, it's the
troubleshooting and
USB,
shit?
so you could have wireless. You could have a USB wireless thing in it.
Yeah,
I
or you
suppose.
could just put a fucking Ethernet jack on the thing. How expensive is the fucking Ethernet jack? I mean, what is this? The Internet of Things. Like every fucking refrigerator has network capabilities now.
Yeah, but still, they're not doing anything useful.
Like
are they?
even in Battlestar Galactica, their computers had network. They just pulled like the fucking cable. What is this? The 1915? What?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. People tell me there are uses for them. I suppose robotics would be the one I would think of, as you say.
Yeah, door stops.
Door stops. Yeah. They're not very good for doorstops because they're not heavy enough. I don't think, anyway. You'd need to get a few and smack them together, stack them on top of each other.
Well, you can put a ton on your table and make it look like you're like some kind of, when people come around the office, they don't know what they're just normal people. They think you're some kind of amazing geek because there's all this shit lying around.
There is that. I was also going to say, if you were maybe wanting to make like a Tron outfit and you didn't have all the gear and you were like, oh shit, what am I going to do? Or you want to try and look like a low budget robot, you could stick a load of them onto your onto your clothes and stuff so that you look like you're all...
comes along and says, that's a shit Tron outfit, can't even SSH into that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so back at the real kind of story. This is $20. Is it just an upgrade to the old Model A? Because I think
and it's smaller. It's smaller, and it has better audio. Although I believe that when I hear it, especially with it being smaller.
Well, that is interesting. How many people are really that worried about the audio on a Model A? I don't know.
But I look on that board and I look at the audio jack and I go like, no.
Yeah, I can't imagine it being high quality. High-end audio kind of stuff going on. I'm just looking at the design. It's quite nice. I mean, it's pretty small as well. So I suppose embedded computing stuff, but it'd have to be stuff where you don't want to, you don't want a wired network connection, I suppose, unless you're going to happy with wireless and USB or something like that. But it looks pretty cool. It's out now, so you can go and have a look at that. What else have we got to mention? Oh yes, this was interesting. Some Debian news. SystemD, we've talked about it quite a bit. This is in German, so you're going to have to take over in a second. But
because by the time this is so new, that English news sites haven't even woken up to this yet.
Right. Okay.
So basically, two Debian maintainers quit today over SystemD. So that would be Colin Watson and Russ
Elementary,
Albury.
my dear Watson. Sorry.
Russ Albury has said he's quitting outright. Colin Watson says he's gonna keep going until they find a replacement. Yeah, basically it's about the discussions about SystemD, and both of them had tried to kind of find a compromise with people, and they just
couldn't find one.
No, I think they're just tired. Actually, before that, another Debian developer called Joey Hess.
I was going to say someone else left recently, didn't he? Yeah, I'd heard about that.
Quit as well, although this wasn't connected to SystemD, I think. But he was basically saying that, well, something we've... I mean, I'm not a Debian developer, and I know this. He's basically saying the decision-making process in Debian is just like horrible. But I think that's common knowledge, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering how many.
Oh, this is actually more. So Colin Watson and Russ Albury were part of the technical committee. And they're leaving. Okay, then Joey Hess has left, and another guy called Tolle Fogg-Heen, who's a SystemD maintainer, has also quit. It's like everybody's quitting.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, how long?
Joining the fork.
The force. Yeah, I mean, I did. That's what I was going to say just before. I was going to say, I wonder how many developers, are. I know Debian has a lot of developers, but I'm wondering how many are left and how this is really going to affect them. Because like any other project of its type, where there's no company behind it and there's no, it's not a commercial thing in any way. It relies on generosity in a lot of ways, and that's either through people's hours of working on it or contributions they make and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because if enough people think, oh well, if they're going, I'm going to follow them, to wherever they go, to like a fork of Debian or whatever, then that could be really bad for everyone, I think, because Debian's such a crucial project. It's the basis of a lot of it's not every distribution, but a lot of distributions that we know and love, and apart from the Red Hat side, it's pretty much the distribution that everyone bases off. And if it were to be split into two, so there were a serious split where there were a good number, like say you took half the developers to each side, that's only going to make things weaker, I would have thought, for everyone in the long run. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It
Even
just
if the
seems
fork
bad.
doesn't happen, I think one of the problems is that they'll have problems, at least in the short term, to replace these people because becoming a Debian developer, I mean, they're not that many, and becoming a Debian developer isn't trivial. It's kind of a long process to go through, and so they can't just somebody can't just step up and say, "I'll do it."
There's an interesting theory in the IRC from John Archer, apparently passing it on from Pete Cannon. Oh, got a theory, mate. Oh,
Debian developers,
bloody Debian developers, mate.
I'm not going to split this distribution. I'll just pay for what I've developed.
So no,
Australian Pete.
Okay, it's Australian Pete. Yeah. His long lost cousin.
Was he Pete?
I'm trying to think what a good name would you like. Shane Cannon. Shane Cannon. Yeah. Anyway, so sorry. The actual the point he was trying to make.
Angus McCannon.
McCannon, yeah. The point he was saying anyway was apparently, Pete was talking about Mark Shuttleworth taking over Debian's development because they, if any more like people jump ship or something, it might be worth him just kind of having his own fork.
Well, if he does that, then he's got his own fork. It's called Ubuntu.
Well, what's the situation with Ubuntu and SystemD? I mean, are they anti-SystemD still, or that they're on board with SystemD now? Yeah. Okay, so there's not a case. It's not a case of the anti-SystemD people could go, oh, let's go and work on Ubuntu, or let's.
I don't think they would. And
I don't think they would, but
Ubuntu could just do their own thing. I mean, they could do the thing that we've been talking about ever since LO started, which they could just fucking pull their weight and like fucking maintain their own proper stack and not depend on Debian.
Well, there's two ways of looking at that, though. I mean, I don't know how much comes back upstream. I'd like to think some stuff does, and if it does, then maybe there is a benefit to Debian to having this successful downstream, project. If some of the stuff comes back upstream, I mean, but I don't know. I haven't had figures on that or anything. But I like to think that there's some benefit to Debian to have some of the stuff that Ubuntu or Canonical have developed and then pushed back. But you never know.
Says, "Oi, let's screw this. Let's have a Barbie." Right.
Now you don't even sound Australian. You've kind of changed again.
It sounded like fucking Midlands or something. I don't know.
I
aim for something and my accent just goes complete the other way. I'm so shit at
it. It's a random accent.
That's one thing that hasn't changed since the beginning of LO.
That's very true. The amount of email, we mentioned it last week, didn't we? But the amount of times that people don't really say it anymore, but the amount of messages we used to get and emails from people asking if you were Indian were just relentless.
The thing, they took the piss at some point. And then we had some Indians saying, he doesn't sound Indian. I think the thing that actually possibly changed is that actually I lost a bit of my German accent, so I lost the only accent I actually can do.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
maybe that's what it is.
I've been watching, I've been testing Netflix. Kind of like Katie forgot we went to watch Lost over the weekend. She forgot the DVDs in Hamburg, and we were like, oh, let's try. And I was like, Netflix test them, see if they have Lost in Germany, which they don't.
Oh, no.
And then I
they lost it.
Yeah.
They did have it. They lost it.
Maxdome, which is a German competitor, which has Lost. And installed their app on my PS3, and that broke. That wouldn't even. It just came up with a black screen. So I immediately deleted that again, and then I went to Netflix and see what they have. And I've been watching Too Much Stromberg, which it's the German version of The Office.
Oh, right, okay.
And this sounds like it's horrible, but what they did is they took The Office and made it German. And the main guy who's like the asshole, he's called Bernd Stromberg, and he's amazing. There was actually at some point there was a spoof by a German comedy series where they spoofed this show and called it Obersalzberg, and it was basically the guy was Hitler,
Right. Okay.
Which fits amazingly because he is kind of like Hitler in some respects. He's it's like he doesn't do anything and just claims, and just claims to be the boss, and it's amazing. And I've just been talking like him all day.
Excellent.
He always says he always calls himself Papa, like Daddy in German. So he's like, kids come together. Daddy has a new plan, and he works. I don't know. I never really watched The Office, the actual show.
The Ricky Gervais one.
Yeah. What is it set in? What company is it?
Paper company. They make paper, or they sell paper.
The German version is set in a insurance company, which is of course very German. So there's one episode where he talks a colleague, his friend is like promoting rock bands, and his rock band is in town and needs a place to stay. So he talks one of the women working in his office, working for him, into having the rock band stay at her apartment for a few nights. And they of course wreck her total apartment. So he brings up his friend, and he's like, "What?" She talks him into it. It's like, "What are we gonna do? We need to fix this." And he's like, he's like, "Don't they have like in Germany we have something called Rechtsschutzversicherung? It's like insurance
for rock bands
when you get sued."
Oh, okay.
Oh, but it's not like for when you. It's also when you break other people's shit and that, And he's basically going, "Aren't they assured against this?" And the other guy just laughs. Now, why are you laughing? And he's like, "They're English." What do you mean? English people must have insurance against this?
No, we don't. We really don't.
German. The typical German is very overinsured. We had an insurance guy over here a few weeks ago because we were sorting out Katie and me. Now that we're married and everything, we were sorting out
marriage insurance.
Yeah.
So like,
it's a wonder they don't have that
like
yet.
Money back or something.
Yeah. No, the live, like kind of like when you what do you call that when you don't work anymore and you get
pension.
Yeah,
retired
that kind of stuff, like private pension stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was gonna talk us into all these kinds of insurances. Completely rock and roll. No, fuck that.
Yeah,
this is like. Have you ever read no, probably not, the first Discworld book?
No, I'm afraid not.
It centers around this guy who is a tourist, like Two Flower, who is he's from an insurance company, and he tries to explain to the Discworld to the other people what insurance is. And they don't get it. Anyway, massive.
Insurance is weird, yeah. Anyway, enough of insurance outlaws. Yeah. So on to shirt outlaws now. Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay. So people asked me if there was going to be any rants today. I think there might be. So this could be a topic to start. Yeah.
So have you the whole shirt shitstorm? Have you?
I wasn't aware of it until today when I read the story that you sent me, and I've read the story, but I didn't see it happening at the time.
So basically, you must have heard about Rosetta, which is an ESA.
I knew about that. Yeah.
European Space Agency mission of landing a probe on a comet, which costs 4 billion euros and is fucking boring.
And it bounced as well, didn't it? It didn't land as they wanted it.
And it's just fucking boring. It's a comet. It's like, this is what we're wasting our time on. We should listen to Buzz Aldrin or anybody like Carl Sagan, or we should be on Mars by now. It's like we're completely dawdling this. I really believed when I was like 15, 16, I believed that I would see people on Mars in my lifetime. I don't believe in that anymore.
No, not unless it's on television, not unless it's a drama program.
Spend so much money on fucking weapons and fucking blowing up the Middle East all over again. And it's just not happening. And meanwhile, we're landing a fucking probe on a comet. Anyway, completely boring. Didn't care about this. Now, then a colleague of mine was writing about this because he's like a space nut. He reads all the Heise space news.
Space news. Space
news.
Space. Yeah, go on.
And he was writing about this. So I saw this picture from the live stream of the guy, the main, one of the head scientists. Dr. Matt Taylor, I think his name.
Matt Taylor, yeah.
So this guy is wearing a Hawaiian shirt, but not any Hawaiian shirt. It's like fucking audacious colors, and it's got like naked, half-naked pinup girls with guns on it. And then, aside from that, he's like tattooed. His arms, his legs are tattooed. Actually, Esa apparently was kind of discouraging him from wearing short trousers. And then he like
I can believe that.
Like the BBC interview, and it's like, I mean, Esa is so fucking stupid. I mean, there was going about how like their publicity is not as good as NASA's, and they don't have the PR budget, right? You know, when NASA had the Mohawk guy, it was, oh man, there's cool people in science. This guy blows the Mohawk guy out of the fucking window. That
he does, yeah.
Won the internet. So amazing. This guy did more. He did more for ESA PR than that fucking boring Comet mission. I mean, I bet you there were like 16-year-old kids going, "Wow,
I want a shirt like that."
No, or they were going like, "There's actually cool people working and like, you know, like button-up nerds talking like this, wearing like lamp cones and wearing like pocket protectors with pencils and like fucking mouth breathers." And then they were going on like, they're probably going, "This is great." Now, that guy got so much shit from fucking internet fucking feminists, you know, social justice wankers, fucking morons.
Social justice wankers.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling them now, because that's what it is. They're just like jerking each other off, going, "Oh, we're so for women, we're so awesome, and you're evil." Anyway, so this guy got so much shit that he apologized in tears at the press conference the following day. Now get this, the shirt was designed by a friend, a female friend, who sews shirts, who actually bought so you can actually buy similar shirts off the web because it's made out of fabric that you could just buy. It was just basically fabric with pinups on there. And she's amazing. Like if you, like no one, then later she got shit from the feminists. No wonder if you look at her.
How popular is this shirt going to be now? They should sell those things.
Amazing. Well, she wrote, I'll have to link to this. She wrote a blog post. She was actually writing about this, how she got shit from the internet. And if you look at her Twitter profile, then you can see why. She's got like a kind of like a tattooed, she's got a very racy background, like for her Twitter. I don't know if have you seen her Twitter account?
I haven't. I'm just gonna have a look now. Now that you've told me it's racy, I'm gonna have a look.
Well, I'm currently working to find this. I think she's amazing. Okay. She's really amazing. So she actually wrote a blog post and says she would like to make more of these shirts, but she'll have to charge like 120.
People will pay that, I think.
Well, yeah, but she was going on about her name is Ali Priceman. At Ali Priceman, I'm gonna put a link in the show notes. She's really cool. Like if you click on one of her tweets, you'll see the background. I mean, I'm just gonna put this in the show notes. Give me a second. So yeah.
I'm busy searching for it.
People will have to wait. Like, it's in the show notes now. People will have to wait for ages because she can't even make them. Even she makes them by hand. Like this is just her hobby. Right?
Okay, yeah, it's not a.
She made this for his birthday, and he wore it.
He wore it on TV, didn't he?
Press conference to do a favor. Because he was so happy about the shirt, and he was like, "Oh yeah," and now they both got complete shitstorm, which is completely fucking ridiculous. People are like, "Oh, that shirt's oppressing women." It's like, it's fucking pinups. It's a fucking shirt, for God's sake. Why is this? Like, seriously, why is this like, has ISIS taken over the internet and I haven't, like, noticed? Like, was this rock and roll now outlawed? It's like, it's oh my God, they're like women. There weren't even pictures of actual women. These were drawings. What is next? Are they going to go into the Louvre and tear all the, like, Michelangelo?
Yeah. I was thinking of
naked women down. What the fuck?
The Venus de Milo, whatever, will have to come down, won't it?
Come on. Have you seen her Twitter background?
I've seen the Twitter. Yeah, it's good.
You know why feminists would, of course, pick on her? It's like, oh God. And then it's like, oh, what the fuck? So I was talking to Katie about this, and she was like, "This is ridiculous." It's like
It is totally over the top. Yeah.
I was actually discussing with her that I think it's completely annoying that we spend 4 billion euros to put like a fucking probe on a fucking planet, and then it didn't even land correctly. And she was like, "I'll let them do this. They're scientists. Sometimes they do stupid shit."
Mm. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, someone Mitzi in the IRC is saying, it's a sexist shirt. How can it be sexist? Basically, only people. He says, I thought only people could be sexist and not shirts.
Well, he's sexist for wearing it, apparently.
Yeah,
I love her approach. She was like, "Oh, I can do some for women too. I can also get get fabric with naked men." Like, and I'm all for that. Like, do that.
Hang on.
But it's like this. What have you found?
No, I'm just. Okay. She's written updates about her and the shirt.
Oh yeah, that's. Yeah.
And I'm reading that now.
I actually retweeted that. She's really nice. She was like saying he's a really nice guy and like praising him for his individuality. I mean, he's got a fucking tattoo of the fucking Rosetta like thing on his leg, of the fucking probe. This is like the coolest doctor I've seen. He should be fucking running ESA.
For some reason, people are enjoying your getting ranty about this. Astralk, I can't say that properly. In the IRC says Fab needs to be in the Snakes on a Plane sequel. So it's just like you ranting at some snakes, going, "Get off my fucking plane,
what the fuck are you doing on this plane? Snakes are not supposed to be on planes." Yeah.
Get these snakes off my plane. I was just reading the update. Yeah, she's saying about how he's a great friend and how he's a really nice guy and all this kind of stuff. And it just
in the IC, hypocrites just being hypocrites. That's it. It's just.
Well, the thing is, I mean, a number of people have said this, right? And it's quite interesting. On the same day as that, which I thought was more telling of how the world is these days. That on the same day that, all right, even if you're not excited by it, it's a pretty big achievement apparently for them to get this thing to land on the comet. Meanwhile, Kim Kardashian shows her ass on Twitter or something, and everybody goes, "Oh, forget that shit. Let's just talk about her ass and look at her ass," and then goes back to say how sexist the dude's shirt is. You know,
yes. And then actually there were people praising her for showing her ass. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know where the guy went wrong? You should have had a shirt with Kim Kardashian's ass on it. Yeah. My God, it's like. And like I can understand the connection. Like by all accounts, that ass is pretty much as big as that comet.
Maybe they should have tried to land a probe on her ass.
That would probably have been easier. It
bounced. I'm afraid it bounced. Yeah.
Kanye aided. Oh God, I can't wait for the HBO episode on Kim Kardashian's ass.
Yeah.
Oh God. This is just pisses me off so much. I just can't. It's so amazingly stupid. And then today we had the Swedish, they want to put a sexist rating on games packages now.
Oh, you're joking? Really?
Because the violence rating has worked so well, and it's just don't we have actual problems in the world?
Well, isn't this the same reason why we have films that have ratings on them that say things like may contain scenes of mild peril? You know, I mean, you see that rating on films and you go, hang on, it may contain scenes of mild peril. Isn't that just anything, really? You know, that's just ridiculous.
I have scenes of mild peril every time I go into the fucking toilet.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just I don't get it. Anyway, so let's we have got a topic that we wanted to discuss actually. So should we get into the main topic if you like?
I need more GNU piss.
Oh right, okay. So this is interesting actually because I'm imagining it's probably no great stretch to imagine that you're more up on this than I am, but we never really kind of talked in depth about the whole Edward Snowden revelations. And I mean, we talked about it, but I think it was just everywhere so much that it didn't feel like, to me anyway, it didn't feel like it needed more talking about at the time.
I think the problem for the show was Snowden broke, as far as I can remember, Snowden broke pretty much the week I got laid off at the H.
Mm.
So after that, we obviously I had to find a job, and then I was moving back to Germany, and we didn't have shows for over 2 months, I think. And I think at that time it just all broke, and then we got caught up with other stuff, and then I was saying, okay, we'll have to wait a bit and talk about this and schedule a show. And this is when it started, when we can this was the point. Pretty much last year, it pretty much started that we didn't have the time for extra shows anymore. Before that, we wouldn't do a show a week. We would
Special
come back
thing,
to extra shows to talk about stuff or have interviews, and we couldn't just handle it anymore. And so this kind of fell under the rug, and we kind of talked about it in passing, but I feel we never fully addressed it. And now it's been over a year. So I thought we should maybe talk about the Snowden stuff.
Can we get the breaking news? Breaking news music. Breaking news. I don't know. Oh, here comes the ice cream van. Here we go. Breaking news. As soon as you start talking about
that's a Snowden van. It must be an NSA van.
Yeah.
This is a signal. This is one of these conspiracy theories. There's a guy who drives that van past just to signal somebody.
It is.
They're using our podcast as some kind of a secret message delivering system.
Honestly, you couldn't have actually timed that any better, really. It's just turned up right now.
They were waiting.
Yeah, there's some guy 3 roads away going, no, reindeer piss, right?
Yeah.
No, Snowden, go!
Yeah, there can't be anything else. I mean, how cold is it over there now? I mean, here it's 9 degrees. It's
It is pretty cold, yeah.
This van comes around in the middle of the fucking winter.
Well, the prevailing theory amongst everyone I know, and to be honest, I can see why you would think that, is that it must sell drugs, because why else would it come around? But I'm fairly certain it doesn't sell drugs, because, I've been to look and I couldn't see any. I've never seen, judging by the fact that hardly anyone ever goes to it. I've never, you see, and the people you do see going to it only buy loaves of bread and milk and shit like that. Then I don't know how the fuck it keeps going, but it does something. Yeah, it's
if there's drugs in the bread, I mean,
right, maybe that's what it is.
You wouldn't have to sell that much if he's selling coke or something. What do the people look like that go there?
Oh, well, they're from round here, so they look dodgy.
Dodgy.
They look a bit dodgy, but
what we need is proper counter surveillance.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe. Well, they're surveilling us. We'll surveil them.
Get the chief on the job, Les.
Yeah, get the chief on the job. Yeah. If it sold pies, maybe we'd get some surveillance on it. I think.
We could do. Was it these? I can't remember what actual show, but there must be a number of these. Well, they're the kids detective shows.
Oh yeah.
Would there was the evil guy, and they would surveil him and split the job, so somebody would surveil him every 2 hours and shit. It's something like that. We need the Occam crew to follow this fucking van around.
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, yeah, the whole Snowden thing. I mean, is it worth us trying to outline it for everyone now?
I mean, if you haven't heard.
You must know. I mean, I imagine you're hearing this. You must know. What the story was and all the revelation stuff, because it was all in the main news. It was everywhere. Yeah. It wasn't tech news by any means.
The guy I was talking about, our space news guy.
Space guy, yeah.
Ever since I started working for the H, he basically only does 2 things. He does Snowden and space. That's what he does.
So if Snowden could somehow get into space, that would be his dream job. He'd be able to write about Edward Snowden being on the ISS. I think that's where he's.
That's the next level for the Russians. I mean, they can shoot him up there.
Well, they've got the Soyuz and all that, haven't they? So yeah, it's possible. They're doing better than NASA with that shit right now. Yeah, even the Americans are paying them to send stuff up for them. So you never know. Until China gets up there and everywhere else, and then God knows. So anyway, meanwhile, back on planet Earth. Yeah, is Snowden? I know he's still in Russia. He's not. Is he still in an airport, or is he out of the airport by now? That's one bit I didn't cover.
He is out of the airport.
Okay.
There's the theory. No Agenda has this theory that he's actually in Berlin. because
Okay.
all his friends are in Berlin. Like everybody moved to Berlin, like Applebaum, Poitras, all these people, like his ex-girlfriend, whatever.
Mhm.
They're all in Berlin because apparently Berlin is the last. They had some statement. Berlin is like the last bastion, where the last freedom
The
war
last
will be
best hope for
found or
peace.
whatever. Yeah,
Is that what he said?
Berlin.
He's our last
Just
best hope.
imagine in a historical sense how ironic this is. We're talking about Berlin here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So the
Yeah.
theories in Berlin, like No Agenda has this whole theory based on the fact that apparently Snowden's glasses have they have these pads, like your glasses, these nose pads, and apparently one's been missing ever since he turned up in Russia. So the question is, why hasn't he replaced it, and why doesn't he have other glasses?
Is that really the most important aspect of this story? What's going on with his glasses?
I'm just cluing you in on the No Agenda angle.
Other hot topics of discussion are how many shits has he taken while in Russia? How regularly is he eating? I don't know.
Apparently he has a dog now. So the latest news I've heard from him is that he has adopted a dog now, and he's gonna. The story was kind of like Snowden's new furry friend or something.
It's like Chewie. I can't do it. That was supposed to be Chewbacca, but it wasn't very good.
Damn you, Chewie! Somebody get that carpet out of my face.
He should call it Chewbacca. He should definitely call it Chewbacca. Yeah. So I mean, one of the things we were going to talk about is the kind of the aftermath of all that and any effect that it's had on us. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether I'm just like happy to go along and help. March willingly into the hands of Google and whoever else owns my data and the U.S. government and GCHQ and whatever. But I don't. I mean, one thing I do is I do sign mail sometimes. It depends what it's for. If it's important mail or I'm doing something, email. I mean, obviously, I will use sign in and stuff. But I don't bother. It hasn't made me jump onto Tor and try and do everything through Tor or any of these other things that you hear people talk about. Well, it would, yeah. But you hear people. I mean, one of the things that happened right on the mainstream news when all this kicked off was I remember seeing on like BBC 6 o'clock news or whatever somebody explaining how to use Tor and how to go onto Tor just on the main news. They're like, and then if you want to get onto Tor, you do this and you that and the other. I'm thinking,
the main news are, by the way. I've been writing stories on Heise for pretty much 6 months now. On the back of a CT story my boss did, how stupid it is to actually route all your traffic through Tor, and how basically, in the words of who was this? Who said this? I wrote about this on Friday. I don't know. I think there were some security researchers or something. Basically, they were saying, well, if you use Tor for everything, you're basically painting a big target on your back. Like,
oh shit, yeah.
So that's not a good idea. So yeah, they're stupid. Whoever tells you that's stupid. I can definitely tell you one thing is it did for me. So this is harkening back to years ago. People will probably remember we had big discussions on LO where I was discussing with you and other people about what's more worrying, to give your data to the government or the companies.
Oh, I remember that.
And I was always on the stance of I'd rather give it to the companies.
Yeah, I remember that as well.
I still stand by my logic back then. Logic basically being that, corporations are not inherently motivated to misuse your data unless it's their business, which of course it can be, and you have to be aware of that. But governments are inherently always collecting data, especially in a mass media state. So everything since the 30s, basically, they're inherently motivated to know as much about their individual citizens as they can, and to keep that knowledge. So I stand by that reasoning. But what we learned through Snowden, and where I have changed my stance, is basically it has come to light. New shit has come to light. That basically handing your data to companies is the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially in the US, but I don't think it's better in Germany, despite all the other propaganda. And it's definitely, GCHQ is the same in the UK. since the government has this intelligence services have so far-reaching ability to like reach into the companies, that if you give it to a company, you basically just gave it to the local whatever regime or government as well. So I think that has definitely changed my stance. One active thing I've actually done is move off Gmail, although that was as much caused by the Snowden revelations as it was by the fact that Google just keeps turning Gmail to shit.
Yeah.
But
the interface
Snowden was definitely also a factor. That was the thing that pushed me over the edge. I was like, I might as well go to my own email server. And I've been definitely using more encryption, although as with Tor, I think there's a huge fallacy where I have colleagues and people I know who now encrypt every mail.
I know people who do that, yeah.
Which is ridiculous. If they're sending you an email, like literally, how about like Döner for lunch?
Yeah.
Question mark. Like, there's no reason you're encrypting that. That's just.
You don't want the government to know that you want donor for lunch. That's serious information they could use against you.
If you could get an infrastructure going, which I've recently read people are doing this now, the IETF wants to ban all clear text from the internet. If we can get an infrastructure going where everything's end-to-end encrypted, yes, but PGP like effortlessly. But PGP is not that solution. PGP breaks and has other problems. So PGP works, but you should use it with a clear goal. You shouldn't like encrypt everything with PGP, because first of all, that's not getting those people that are not using PGP to use it.
Yeah.
They'll just be confused. And like, yeah, it's not an ubiquitous solution that works for everything. So you should, that doesn't make any sense.
But there's a theory, there's a school of thought, not particularly one that I subscribe to, but it's one that I've heard a fair amount, is that you're definitely right. Right now, if you are encrypting what you're doing, your everyday use of the internet, like you go on Amazon or something and you're doing it all through Tor, chances are then you're making yourself, look very suspicious and you're making yourself a target. There are people who argue that what should happen is pretty much what you've just said, that if everybody was encrypting everything, then it would be lost in the, everything, the information would be lost in the swathe of other stuff. And I don't know if that's true or not, but the problem is people are never going to adopt it. People are never, unless, as you say, unless it's easy and it just happens and people don't really have to know anything to do it. Ordinary people are not going to start using encryption for everything.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing with we need to encrypt everything is right. But the problem is that only works if we actually do encrypt everything. And what we need for that is a solution that just works, which PGP isn't. I know whenever I say this, people howl in pain and shout at me, but it's basically because they want PGP to be that solution, but if you look at it, it's not. And there's lots of like crypto people like Professor Matt Green. He's I actually really encourage you to follow him on Twitter. He's a professor of cryptology at Johns Hopkins. Great guy. He was involved in the organizing that audit, like the Open Crypto audit for TrueCrypt and other stuff. He writes a lot of interesting stuff, and he basically wrote a blog post a while ago saying PGP is dead, where he explains that PGP is a very old technology. There's stuff in there that was kind of predicated on the internet being as it was 20 years ago, and it's just not for today. It has problems. So if we had a technology that would just work and everybody would use it, then what you said would be completely right. But even if we have the perfect technology, like to get everybody to use it, I think what the IETF doing is probably more right. Like if the internet, if an internet, like the standards body builds encryption into the core internet protocol, as it should have been from the beginning, but like the guys who did, I mean, you can read there's interviews with Windsurf and other internet pioneers who are saying like, we really regret that we didn't do this, but back then, we didn't have.
They didn't think they need to. Yeah.
Well, and they didn't have the computing resources, to be honest, to have strong.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, But we could do this. It won't happen from today. It's probably gonna take 20 years. But if we start now and if we spec this out, we can do this. Like because all these protocols they iterate slowly, but we can iterate them that this would work. And I think that's the actual approach. Currently, if you just PGP encrypt stuff like, are we going to dinner for lunch? Chances are, you can tell that's a really short message.
Yeah.
And there's metadata involved. The theory is that if we encrypt everything, because the people like the NSA need to brute force that, if there's enough traffic, they won't have the resources. But currently, not everybody's encrypting, and until that happens, they have ways to defeat that as well. They have metadata. They probably know that, like, if a colleague sends me an inter-office email that's encrypted, and they can tell it's only a line long, that can't possibly be worth their effort.
It's unlikely to be, let's bring on the jihad or something.
Right. And even if it is, that wouldn't be important. Like, if he had
jihad for lunch?
Yeah, if he had instructions for the fucking jihad, that would probably be a bit longer. And I think they can probably tell.
Yeah, probably.
Who knows?
Yeah,
with the feminist jihad brigade, pretty soon doner is going to be illegal because it's like non-vegan and probably sexist in some way. Probably oppresses women.
Sexist meat, yeah. It's interesting that you said you moved off Gmail because of this. I moved most of my stuff to. So I used to use. I'm going back like maybe a year and a half now, 2 years before the Snowden thing had all blown up. I decided that I'd had a Gmail account for years, but I'd had lots of other accounts as well, and I was actually funneling them all through Gmail using the IMAP stuff and so you could do within Gmail to be a client to other things. And after a while, I started to think, I should probably just, because all this mail is coming from other servers anyway, most of it. I should probably just do this with like Thunderbird or I don't have to use Gmail for this. So I got off Gmail and I started doing my own thing. And I have a Gmail account, but sometimes things will go to it, but I don't really check it that often. But most of my mail is through my own web host and IMAP.
Well, I did the same thing. I think I'm using WebFaction now for this.
Okay, so that's the same as me.
Yeah, so basically based on your recommendation. So what I was doing, I had my fab at sixgun.org was a Google Apps account. So I had that email address, so I just switched it over from Gmail to that server, and I sucked all my mail out of Gmail. Not that Google doesn't have a copy still, I'm guessing. But, I thought, but this stuff doesn't have to go to, like, Gmail. I know the NSA can get it, but why should I, like, hand it to those fuckers on a silver platter, right? If I don't absolutely have to. Of course, a lot of this is not encrypted, but still, it's like, basically, if you think about stuff like Google, where it's such a big company, it's like Facebook, the NSA has like backdoor access, even though they keep denying this. This is most stuff Snowden says.
Yeah.
And Greenwald said, and I completely believe that. Why wouldn't they have like an access where they just go, oh, we're right into their systems. Let's see what Churchill is up to and just get his mail. Now,
Churchill! They're like shaking their fists.
I hope they have that. Yeah, they have a special button for that. Oh God, that would be awesome. They can get it from WebFaction, but it's probably a lot harder. And they probably have to go out and like actually subpoena them or whatever.
They could get it, yeah, but it's not. There's an old saying that you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and with Gmail and Google, say it may have been a Google basket, but all of the things, that's probably one of their products now. But all of the things that I was doing were going through Gmail and stuff, and I thought, this is a bit stupid. Why am I doing that? It didn't really make sense, so I moved it anyway. But I still use Google Calendar for my calendar. So to be honest, I don't know how much I've limited my. I don't think. Well, the idea was never to be Google free. It was just to not be only using Google services.
I don't do that, but like I think that the important thing is, this is actually quite funny. I had a guy actually today ring me up from like some media thing, and they want to do a debate, pro contra Google, and apparently they found me
Really?
through something I had written, I guess ages ago. And they wanted me to have to argue the pro Google side. And I
Wow.
can see where they're
Okay.
coming from. If you think like 2 years ago, I was actually comparably pro. I mean, I think this stems from like the whole fucking Street View thing when everybody was probably on Google Plus or something when they were going like Street Views shit in
Yeah, I
Germany,
remember.
and I was going, well, this is ridiculous, and I still believe that.
Mm.
But I can see where they're coming from. But like after Snowden, like post Snowden, this is such a different thing to argue anything pro Google. I mean, I still think like I think my main thing is, I was thinking about this today, of course, because of this, because they asked me. And I think my main thing would be that you need to know, like the important thing is you need to know what you're doing. You need to think about this. And I think Snowden's biggest achievement is, while you and me always suspected the stuff that he unveiled was going on, I think we were pretty, like everybody called us paranoid, but we kind of assumed this was going on. At least I did, because I was reading Tom Clancy, when I in the 90s, and I was completely, yes, like they can do this, and why wouldn't they? Now we actually we know, and we know a lot more about what they are doing, which makes it a lot easier for us to like consider the risks and kind of weigh the risks. And I think that's what you need to know. You need to understand what the risks are and what you're doing. For example, I completely know I'm carrying an Android phone in my pocket. I know Google knows where I live and where I work. If you have an Android phone and it's not like completely hacked, whatever, they know that.
It's not in airplane mode all the time.
Yeah, they know that because they see you every morning, every work day. You get up at a certain amount of time, you leave where you are, and you go to another place, and then you stay there for 8 hours, and then you go back. So a week of that, and they know where you work and where you live, and it's kind of easy to figure out which is which, and that will probably work for 90% of the people, and certainly some people will work at home. And they'll think they're just.
But even so, I mean, they can cross-reference it with what you search for in Google,
yeah, and that's the other thing, like
and your calendar and whatever else they need. So it's,
and you need to be aware of that. But let's go there in a second, right? Hold that thought. I was just going to say you need to be aware of that, and I'm completely okay with that, because if you Google my name, you can figure out where I live. The address is there. Like it's now on my blog. Before that, it was on Whois. Like I was like really, I don't know, amused when I had like emails. When people wrote to us and they were like, "Oh, I want to send you beer. Like, where do you live? Can you send me an address?" And I was like faintly amused, because I was thinking like, this is LO. Like we have like really geek listeners. Really? Like I think in one or two cases, I think I might have actually come off as an asshole, which I really didn't want to. But I was like, come over like really? You didn't do a Whois on sixgun.org? Like what?
Well, a lot of people hide that kind of data, don't they? I mean, I on a similar note, I many years ago, now probably 5-6 years ago, got like a birthday card, I think it was, off or it was either birthday or a Christmas card, I forget which. Either way, it doesn't matter. Probably birthday card off our friend Bradley Kuhn from at the time he was at the Software Freedom Law Center, and I knew him, but I didn't know him that well, and I hadn't sent him my address or anything. So I was quite surprised when this thing turned up. I wasn't that surprised, because I know it's easy. I'm easy enough to find. I own domain names and other things. Yeah, and then he just said, "Oh, sorry, I looked up your address from a Whois lookup, and I assumed you wouldn't mind." And I was like, "No, not really." But it was quite funny.
If you look it up on sixgun.org, you obviously see that. I mean, like if it said like GoDaddy protected domain or whatever Namecheap does. I mean, I could do that, like Whoisguard or whatever.
Yeah, Whoisguard, yeah. Which, to be fair, I have started using because it's free. It's free.
Well, kind of, but I don't bother, because in Germany you have that Impressumspflicht anyway, and it's on my blog, and I don't care. Like I was talking to a colleague today, who is like probably the most famous guy who works at Heise. He used to have a TV show, and we were talking about Street View actually, and he was telling me. He's actually got a YouTube show right now. Georg Schnurer. If German people will know. He was very famous, cool guy. And he was saying like he's really careful with that, because he had people show up at his house.
Yeah.
It was like really angry people and people like literally with the PC under their arm going, "Can you have a look at this?" Because he was like kind of.
I can imagine that.
He was kind of for a while. He was like the German Leo Laporte. He was like the tech guy on
That's
German
tech
TV.
guy.
So
That wouldn't
basically
work.
there was the Computer Club, which was the show I used to watch, and then it was his show. He was Schnurrer. He was well known, funnily known for weird shirts. So people keep like when I wear
Sexist? Any sexist shirts?
no, just very colorful. He actually at some point he had a website dedicated to his shirts, the amazing shirts of Georg Schnurrer or something it was called.
Yeah. Okay.
So people were, when I was wearing like my shirts, people were going, "Oh, you're trying to be the new Schnurrer, aren't you?"
You want a website of your shirts, I'm sure.
I completely do want that. Yes, I need more shirts though. I need that shirt. I posted that on Google Plus. You know where my address. You can find out my address. Christmas coming up. Hello's ending.
I think they're going to be worth a lot of money. Those shirts. I think they're going to sell for a lot of money.
You can actually. There's a site where they're where it's not the same shirt, but it's made of the same cloth.
Same pattern.
Looks like that, and I'd be happy enough. That's the thing I posted. Okay. My size is M. Just saying. I'm doing a John C. Dvorak. Dvorak always trolls for like hoodies from like football teams.
Right. Okay. Is he not on the Scott E vest like everybody else over there?
No. He's always wearing university sweaters that he gets from people, like hoodies. Anyway, so I can understand where he's coming from. But like for me, I know that people can find that. So I mean, I'm going like if Google needs fucking Android to figure out where I live, they're just lazy. It's in their fucking search engine anyway. But I understand that like the problem I have when this guy called me up who was gonna do this for like the debate, like the thing I said to him, like that's me. But I know I'm not I'm not a normal, especially not a normal German citizen who's like really like I think. There's this post-privacy thing, which I think is hyped at some point. But I think the more I think about this, especially post-Snowden, is the more I come to the realization that some of that is actually true. Where like 10 years ago, where you lived was like closely guarded, personal, identifiable information that in Germany, basically per default, only the state had. That's not so much the case anymore because there's more and more data is going to be put on the internet, and you don't even need Google, and you don't need to have a domain to figure out where people live, because everything's going to be put on the internet. Like there's stuff like if you're in a like in a club, right, a whatever, like like my gun club or whatever.
A society.
In a society, whatever, and it's gonna be a point where they have a website. And everybody has a website now, and at some point they're gonna put like they have lists of the members, and at some point they're gonna put that on the internet, and then like there's gonna be a point where your address is just gonna be on the internet, and I don't necessarily think that's bad. Like I eat my own dog food, like when I was talking about Anissa Sarkeesian and saying where like if somebody finds out where you live, that's not a threat. I don't think that's a threat, because yes, they know where you live, and they can turn up at your house and threaten you, right? They can come there and be like, but like, yes, they can do that, but like, you can call the police, which is probably what I would do, or like, if they try to get on my property, I would probably use my my right under German law to defend my property with a fucking shotgun.
Well, that's quite contentious over here. I'm just so I'm chatting away to people in the IRC because the Icecast stream's been going up and down the last like couple of minutes. I didn't notice No, but this is the thing. It went off, and I was like, no, oh yeah, it has gone off, and now it was going on and off. And then somebody, I think Super Engineer it was, said, "It's the bloody ice cream van outside."
Messing with your signal.
Yeah, prompting us quickly to burn all the hard drives and get out of here before we get caught. So there's definitely something weird going on. It seems to be back stable now. But anyway, with regards to the Snowden thing, anyway, one thing I find you kind of mentioned this before. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I don't think particularly. I mean, I know people who are who think everything's a conspiracy, which is probably not. But I also, there are certain things like before the Snowden revelations, we used to joke about the fact that Google knew everything about us and that the government were probably watching it and other governments from other countries were probably finding out and all this, and people would joke about that, and kind of we almost knew it was true. That's the thing that shocked me was that this huge revelation came out, or these huge things that we should have all been like shook to the core by, and everyone just went, "Oh yeah, that figures," and that was it. And there was no like, I mean, within a week or two, I hesitate to use the term ordinary people, but I will. Ordinary people who weren't interested in the technology, were like, "Oh yeah, that was last week. What's happening now?" And and just fucking ignored it. And now, I mean, you've got like, it seems to me that the classic kind of maneuver of a lot of if you believe in all that, a lot of authoritarian type states and conspiracies and all the rest of it is to divert the attention away from the thing that you don't want people to look at. So meanwhile, this shit blows up, and then somebody posts a picture of Kim Kardashian's fucking arse on the internet, and all the world just goes, "Oh, look at that," and then completely takes their eye off the fucking ball. So
it was a pretty big ass.
It was, but still, it just seems
a special lens to capture that.
Yeah, a wide-angle lens.
I think it has its own like little moon.
I was going to say its own orbital, gravity or whatever, gravitational pull. No, it seems, that's what surprises me. The fact that nobody was really, nobody I spoke to anyway. My friends are always kind of, maybe they're a bit more conspiracy-minded, but everybody was just like, oh yeah, well we've always assumed that happened, now we know.
Two things I have to say. One of it is, of course, we know a lot of techie people, and they're all new.
True.
Like, I literally, for the first week, and in hindsight, this is stupid, but this is what happens if you live and breathe the internet for like 10 years or whatever. I was like, yeah, of course. Like, what's the news? Literally, but okay, it's maybe also because I read way too much Tom Clancy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, read Tom Clancy. He like said this in the 90s, and this was even before computers were that big. He was basically going, okay, the CIA has been doing this stuff with paper and people for like the Stasi has, like, since the 50s.
Yeah, that's true. Intercepting mail and stuff. Yeah.
As soon as computer came along, of course they founded the NSA and did the same thing with computers. And we were all like, yeah, of course they have. Why wouldn't they? But
it's a lot easier to do.
And I think the second thing is that reaction by the common people is different, definitely different in the UK than in Germany.
Okay.
And I know this because the colleague who's been writing about this has actually, we've done a feature which we've translated, I think I've talked about it on the show as well, where he asked journalists from all over Europe, and he's been also looking at, the reactions in other countries, and the UK was pre-Snowden already pretty used to surveillance. So
that's true. Yeah.
I don't want to, I've only lived in the UK for a year, but I must say that it has surprised me at times how accepting the UK was to authoritarian things like this.
Yeah.
I've put this down to two things. Mostly, I thought, well, I'm just German and I'm different because we have this history that we don't accept that. And the other thing was just me like basically being snobbish and going, of course, they're a monarchy basically.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For me, that was like basically, yeah, of course.
So you think it's the Queen that's behind all this?
Yeah.
Her and Philip are there going, I've got the emails, Philip.
Yes, you're saying this, but like...
Is there anything good in there, Liz? Well, Cecil's been talking about reindeer piss. Oh, jolly good. I just...
if you're listening, Queen...
no, on to us, Philip. She's in the ice cream van outside.
Have a gin on me.
Hang on, the ice cream van's just speeding away. I can see, like, there's a crown falling out of the window.
I always wanted to tell you that you're the most badass head of state ever. You're awesome. Anyway.
No, you're right. I mean, it's it's long been the case that we've been, we've had more CCTV in the UK than in any other country, and we're one of the most surveilled kind of populations in the world. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that is something that we just
in Germany, because of that, because of the history, I think as well, and not so much even the Nazi history, more the East German history, the Stasi history. It has been going through the news. It's been going down now, but it was in the news for and the new stuff whenever new things came out. It was actually in mainstream news for the most part of a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been actually, but same thing. I think that was to a large degree just the press. The politicians were of course going, this never happened, because they're all in on this. There was the famous thing where the internal minister was going, well, the affair's over, 3 months into the thing. Well, this is all over now. You don't need to care anymore. There's a definite different approach to it in Germany that I've noticed, which I think it's mostly due to the Stasi, which is kind of surprises me, because looking at history and the DDR thing, the German Democratic Republic thing is interesting, because that's actually not history. History in the
out of living memory
science thing is 30 years. There's this cutoff date. I study politics, political science, and history, and modern history, and the cutoff date between modern history and politics is 30 years usually, because that's most of the declassification stuff anyway. But there's this thing in Germany where a lot of people still see, I always thought East Germany was, you can't really say on the same level as Nazi Germany, but it was a totalitarian state. It was
behind the Iron Curtain. They got the Iron Curtain and all that, didn't they?
It was an unlawful state, and that, I think, at its core, it definitely was. They shot people at the border when they tried to leave. But you actually have to point this out. It's not on the same level as Nazi Germany. There are a lot of people, especially left-oriented people in Germany, that kind of debate that. I would give my mother is we are a social democratic kind of family. My parents both used to be in the SPD. My father actually was a politician, local area politician for SPD, and I was used to be on the kind of the right wing of the SPD, where my parents used to be. My father is all over the place, but he's mostly centered. My mother's very left, and she actually there's a German party called Die Linke now, the left, which is basically, so there was the SED, which was the state party in Eastern Germany, which turned into the PDS when Germany was unified, and that turned into the left. So I used to give my mother shit that they're basically the follow-on party, which they kind of are, from the regime in Eastern Germany. And you have to think about that. After Nazi Germany, it hadn't happened, and there were lots of ex-Nazis who turned up in the CDU and stuff, but generally the NSDAP didn't continue as a party, and there was an effort to purge all the Nazis from government, from political office and stuff, and that to a large extent has never happened. If I talk to colleagues now, because I moved into the center Germany, this is a lot closer to East Germany than it was, and this is we celebrated 25 years of the wall falling just last week, so this isn't that long ago, but there are still, and what I mean is actually this is quite long ago, but there are still people now in political office in Eastern Germany that is the same people that used to be in office when the regime was on, when the Stasi was happening, and they all have Stasi pass, because back then everybody used to spy on everybody else. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
The Stasi thing was actually compared to what today, what we have with Snowden and stuff. This was really old school. This was just people spying on people, but basically everybody was spying on everybody else. And it was actually, what the spying is concerned, this was a lot worse than Nazi Germany, I mean, Nazi Germany was a terror state, and they had the Gestapo and the SS, and they would, like, if you didn't comply, they would actually drag
Take
you
you
out
away.
of your bed in the middle of the night and, like, shoot you in front of your family in your cellar,
Mm-hmm.
and then tell your neighbors and, like, drag your corpse through the street so everybody could see what happened. So that was a terror state, but the spying actually was a lot worse in the Eastern German regime. And I think this is like this historic thing is why it's got a lot more impact in Germany. I mean, on one hand, it's 25 years ago, which for me and you is a very long time.
Yeah.
But for people that are at the age of our parents, that is kind of like they still remember all that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, you're very right that, like, you know, the spying wasn't invented with computers. It's like, you know, it's not as if that wasn't been happening for a long time. The thing was, it's a lot easier now. And I think what I was saying before about people, all right, and you make a good point that maybe we know a lot of geeky people and people who tend to think this way, so maybe that's partly to do with it. But even people I knew who weren't particularly up on that didn't seem surprised. But the thing is, because it's so easy to do this, I would have been surprised if they weren't doing it, if somebody wasn't keeping track of all this communication, because, you know, that's, as you say, it's been done for years, and it was a hell of a lot harder when you had to do it with paper and you had to steam open a letter and really copy it and reseal it and all that shit. You know, it's a lot easier to just scan an email and get a digital copy or whatever as it flies past. So I would have been surprised if it hadn't happened.
But I think the thing we didn't, even as geeks, didn't get is, like, you and me, we understood this was happening. Like, we assumed this was happening, but we didn't understand what that means. And I think this is the thing that Snowden has brought to us, is the understanding in depth what that actually means. So you and me, we assumed that they read our emails, but we didn't actually act on it. I think
true.
Because we didn't like actually deep in our minds understood what that means. And the thing why I was going on the whole Stasi tangent, that wasn't like to bore people. What I was trying to explain is what we have right now, what we have in Germany, in the UK, in the US, with GCHQ, with NSA, with the BND, is kind of basically like living in the Stasi state. Because
sorry, go on.
It kind of is because in a US and a Western German approach to spying, we could do all this. We could steam open letters, and they would do this, but it wouldn't scale.
Yeah, you couldn't do it to everyone.
Yes, you knew from James Bond movies this was going on, but you knew that they would only do it to people if they've made themselves a target somehow. Like, you know, if they were politicians. Like my father, because he was like in the Social Democratic Party, he was being actually surveilled for years. He was persona non grata in the DDR for a while. Like, he couldn't get into the country and shit. But so you knew that could happen, but it would only happen for a reason. Now, the difference in Eastern Germany, even in the 60s, was the Stasi had their spies everywhere. Literally, in every housing block. They called this the Blockwart. They had a guy who would be spying for the party on everybody else. And you had to assume that every colleague, every person you met was spying for the SED. So... and the Stasi. So the thing is, they had so many spies that they were actually doing what the NSA is doing now. They were doing mass surveillance. They were doing, like, basically metadata. You know, they could just ask their guy, like, what's happening on your block? And they would say, well, this Churchill dude's been, you know, he's been going in and out at weird hours. There's something going on. There's something fishy. And then they would actually, you know, get an agent on your case and surveil you. And this is basically what the NSA, you know, GCHQ, everybody's doing now with computers. It's just they don't need real people anymore. But
I was going to say, it's all automated. That's the scary thing. It can happen, you know, on an endless scale, pretty much.
Exactly. And I think the difference is that basically you don't even have to assume. It is a pre-Snowden. It is a post-Snowden. It is a predetermined fact that they do this about everybody. Like, you have to assume this is going on, and you have to act on it, which I think that revelation is kind of the new thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and the other thing is, the thing is that lots of countries, and the UK is included in this, have tried to change the laws so that the stuff that they were doing, that it became apparent they were doing, is not illegal anymore. Because a lot of stuff they were doing is actually illegal under the UK
that's
law.
a UK
And then they try
thing.
and change. Well, that's what I mean. They're trying to change the laws retrospectively to say it's not illegal and it wasn't illegal then because we've changed the law.
The funny thing in Germany is they can't, because our constitution says it can't be changed by them. So right now we actually know what they're doing. They're doing stuff that is illegal, but they just like the agencies and the politicians say, well, it just isn't happening. They just deny it's happening.
Yeah.
No,
but it seems as though
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But it seems as though most people have just kind of swept it out of their mind or whatever, and they've given up on it. But I always think when you see, and we've had the likes of people from the Open Rights Group on many times on this show telling us about these laws that in the UK are going through Parliament and stuff, and they tried to pass things like this, what was nicknamed the Snoopers Charter, which is basically record everything about everyone, and then, we won't use it, but then we've always got it if we need
mass data retention.
Yeah, all that shit. So I always think to myself when I see things like that, is that because they're already doing that and they're thinking, shit, we're going to get found out, we should probably make this legal before somebody finds out about it? Or is it, I mean, I don't know. But it's not that long ago. Sorry, I was going to say, it's not that long ago that you were saying about, people being suspicious and so on. If you said to someone, I mean, and as I say, I wouldn't even consider myself a big conspiracy theorist. I had friends who were much more into all that kind of stuff. But if you said to someone, of course they read all our emails, this, that, and the other, they think you were crazy. People would go, he's crazy, he's a nutty, wears tinfoil hat, and he thinks there's a big conspiracy and everything. And very quickly, overnight, those people went, oh yeah, well of course that's happening. Yeah, we always thought it was, and they completely changed. And now they've just forgotten about it, or they haven't forgotten about it, but they're just choosing to ignore it.
And that's actually the thing that scares me. And people think this is over the top, but I actually think this is the truth, and this is the thing that scares me. This reaction is the same that happened in Eastern Germany and in Nazi Germany as well.
That's true.
There were people getting shot. They knew people were getting shot, and they were going, well, it isn't me. If I comply, I don't care. And they were going, well, okay, I'm going to arrange myself with this. And that is the scary thing, because that signals to whoever is in charge that they can just keep doing what they're doing. And I think that is exactly like, this is really deep. This must be the GNU piss.
It's the reindeer piss.
Yes, and GNU piss.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It's that's the I really think I'm gonna bring it back to my normal dystopian view. I think this is happening. I think people have accepted this. I salute Snowden for doing what he did, and coming out and bringing us this. Even in the beginning, I was going, I don't know what's going on, and I don't get this. I don't know why this is important, but it is. But I think it doesn't matter, because people have accepted this, that this is going on, and that's shit.
Yeah, this reminds me of something a friend said to me recently. He said, we may as well all move to Egypt because we're all living in denial anyway. So, pretty much. So, yeah, there's not enough room. We should all move to Egypt, and then we can live in denial instead.
Yeah, it's so amazing as well. If you talk about Egypt, though, we were going on all the internet, the censoring of the internet, and how horrible is that, and they're doing that to us now as well.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. One thing I wanted to point out as
Low radio? What?
No, sorry, my brain. It's the elk piss. As a no agenda listener, I have to point this out. I am dismayed. I keep talking to my colleagues about this. About the misuse. I'm not blaming you on this, but the misuse of the term conspiracy theory, which is general, like in mass media parlance, has become this thing where they go, "Oh yeah, this is a conspiracy theory." If, even before Snowden, if you suspected that the NSA was reading your email, that was not a conspiracy theory, because, if you suspect an agency of 8,000 people, a government agency, of reading your emails, that's hardly conspiracy. You can't have a conspiracy with fucking 8,000 people involved. If it's Obama and the head of the NSA going, yeah, let's do this, we're evil, that's a conspiracy.
Well, yeah, true.
I know. The point is
Mhm.
conspiracy theory has become shorthand for
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
even
yeah.
know for this
Anything.
thing that people don't believe, but that is actually not a conspiracy theory. A conspiracy theory would be if actually funny thing is, the plane got shot down, MH whatever, when.
Well, there's lots of people who say it's been located on an island and all that stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one thing. That's
Mhm.
just lost. That's just Damon Lindelof kind of
Mhm.
script writing. No, but then the pretty soon the mainstream opinion in the press was this is like the Russians and Putin,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Putin colluding with some East Ukrainian rebels to shoot their plane. That is a conspiracy theory, my friends. Now,
Yeah, that's true.
funnily, if that's broadcast on the BBC or on Tagesschau on German TV, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's fact.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, to me,
Money
something
to
like
John C. Dvorak at No Agenda, thanks.
somebody like David Icke, for example, he's a crazy guy who comes up with all kinds of interesting theories about things. He for years was saying that the royal family were all lizards and they were from space and they were 8-foot lizard people, and people were talking about them in the IRC before, and it was some conspiracy, and they ran the world by taking over the human bodies with their lizard. Like something out of I was going to say Doctor Who, but something more kind of serious than that. Some invasion of the body snatchers or something. That's definitely a theory, but yeah. Anyway, I wanted to we talked about the royal.
Like if they're like 50 lizard people, then that would be a conspiracy.
That's true. Well, we talked about the royal family briefly before, and I just wanted to mention this. But, yeah, did you know this is definitely a conspiracy theory? I would say. I was reading this thing recently. You talked about files being opened, secret files being opened after a certain amount of time. It turns out now that there are files that have been opened from 1933. Apparently, were opened recently, and it turned out that the English. So the English Natural History Museum in London supposedly had a plan to kill, and I don't know how this works, kill and kidnap. You can't do both. I don't see how that works. You either kidnap them and then kill them. Anyway, kill and kidnap is what they said. The Loch Ness monster from Scotland, and bring it back to England and keep it in the Natural History Museum. And obviously the Scottish were furious about this, and to the point where the Scottish History Museum or whatever wrote letters to people saying, if anybody's going to have the Loch Ness monster, it should be us because we're Scottish and it's in Scotland and blah blah blah. But the thing is, Prince Philip got really into this. The Duke of Edinburgh, who's still around, he got really into this, and he was trying to commission the Navy to try and hunt the Loch Ness monster down.
Awesome. This is awesome.
So that he could, it's here. Look, he wrote letters to people, and here we are. Where are we now? About this, he says things like, "I hope you won't be." Here we go. So he sent a message which was short and clear. What did I call it? Liz. Liz.
No, yeah. Liz, get the Navy.
Now, it says here, in 1934, blah, blah, an unnamed official at the National History Museum, responding to a question about the museum's policy on the Loch Ness Monster, made no bones about how bounty hunters would deal with such a creature. He said in his message, should you ever come within range of the monster, in brackets, in quotes, I hope you will not be deterred by any humanitarian considerations from shooting him on the spot and sending the carcass to us in cold storage straight away.
I always wanted to be a bounty hunter. This is awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, and Prince Philip apparently
Fetch my hat, KG. Fetch my hat and my gun. I'm going to Scotland.
Yeah, it says here. Look, so he met Prince Philip was very into this, and he met a guy called David James, who was a Tory MP at the time, was obsessed with apparently what they called an obsession with Nessie. Mr. James met with Prince Philip on numerous occasions to discuss the Loch Ness Monster project in early 1962.
Please, in a pub.
Yeah, no, it doesn't say in a pub. I don't know, but it says, and the Duke encouraged him to contact the Royal Navy for assistance. Sir Terence later wrote, he has spoken of his plans to the Duke of Edinburgh, trying to gain support from the MOD, anyway. So I'll put a link in the show notes, but it's just a story that I came across.
Let me chime in with some national pride here. Surely, surely
you
remember.
German, are you?
Surely you remember Scapa Flow?
Oh, yeah, okay,
If anybody's entitled to go after a monster that lives at the bottom of the lake,
Yeah,
Surely it's the German submarine fleet.
maybe.
Get Jürgen Prochnow on the case. Jürgen Prochnow and Herbert Grönemeyer.
Yeah.
Or possibly, if it needs to be Scottish, then please Sean Connery.
Oh, that'd be cool.
One ping, Vasily. One ping only. Can't do it.
I'm a Russian U-boat commander.
It's amazing when he sings.
He's brilliant. You know, whether he's playing a Spanish, he was like one of the Spanish conquistadors or something in Highlander. Whether he's playing an Irish American cop in whatever, it's always like, hello, I'm Sean Connery.
Retract the periscope.
I'm an African man. Can't you tell by my voice? Anyway, so we should probably move on to the feedback unless we can think of anything else to say about
No, I think we've covered every part of the Snowden revelations,
and we even got a Loch Ness monster in there.
Yes, including things people didn't even know that were connected. The Loch Ness monster, the star,
the Queen, everything.
This might be one of the finest segments of LO ever, which I probably think only because I'm on the third bottle of elk piss. And when I'm editing this, I'm gonna be going, what the fuck?
Somebody mentioned, Tommy Bobbins has mentioned Zardos. We
oh my god!
Sean Connery.
I need the mind bleach.
It makes me think of this. British listeners will get this, but Phoenix Nights, which was a comedy by Peter Kay. The two doormen are discussing like Sean Connery and how every film he does without a wig on is no good, and he's like, no wig, no hit, shit, and then they're going through all these fucking things, and he goes, what was that one when he got his cock out, and the other one goes, Zardos, and he goes, Zardos, that's it, yeah, and having this big discussion about
get his cock out. I can't even remember.
He does in Zardos, yeah, he's full frontal.
What?
He does, yeah. At some point in the film, you get to see all of Sean Connery.
I have to watch that again. I think I wiped that from my brain.
Right, okay.
Sean Connery.
You definitely get to see him full frontal at a couple of points, yeah. Anyway, so moving on to the emails. We should probably
to the emails.
Yeah, we've got quite a lot of emails, so let's start. Let's get into these. So, there we go. So we got one from Michael Schmidt, who says, I can't believe how sad this news actually makes me. This is in reference to us wrapping up the show. He says, I started listening somewhere in the late hundreds, and I've gone back and listened to the rest. Wow, that's dedication. I don't think I've ever listened to you guys for the Linux news, actually. Your chemistry and banter have made the show amazing. I have nothing... Oh, that's nice. Nothing but respect for you two, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to skip on because you don't need to hear all this. But thank you, Michael. It's very nice. It says, in the spirit of... here we go. Yeah, so he sent us a recommendation for a band.
In the spirit.
In the spirit of Outlaws and Six Gun, there is a local...
Damn, we even prolonged the 5-year mission.
We have now, yeah, 7 years. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so he goes on to tell me about a band from his area, which is apparently Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That sounds pretty cool. He says he sends us a link to their album. They're called Cactus Black, apparently. Oh, wow, and they've got an album called Journey of a Gunslinger. So I'm going to look into this, and we'll have a listen to it for future shows or something.
Is this related to Roland Deschain?
I don't know. Could be. So it says, Cactus Black. Here you go. Yeah. So yeah. Could be. So they've got some stuff on Bandcamp. And anyway, we'll put a link in the show notes if you want to check that out.
I'm busy right now. I need to turn. Let me just fade that out. Just on YouTube. I'm extremely busy turning Safe Search off.
Oh right, okay.
My Zardos searches. So
on your Zardos searches.
Just keep reading.
Okay. All right, and so we had a.
Search is off.
Thanks to
It's him in the wedding dress, for fuck's sake.
Shields are down.
Oh my god, there's a guy in Zardos cosplay.
Oh no, why would you do that?
Oh my god.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. Anyway, so thank you to Michael for that one. Michael Schmidt.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, I'll have a listen to the oh god, I've got to read this quick before an image appears on my screen.
Fucking Willy.
Okay. So yeah, thanks to Michael for that one. We had an email from Eddie who says, "Really sorry to hear about the show, but life happens, and doing stuff when it is no longer fun is disheartening. At some point in the last few shows, you should look at Fab's book of predictions for a final tally of
here comes the image.
Oh my god! Yeah, for how." I'm going to keep talking. So for how I've scrolled down, so I have to look at that. So for how you can look in the show notes to see what we're talking about. So where are we now? So we should look at Fab's prediction book. That's where it was, wasn't it? You put it in the middle of the email. Okay. He said, okay, to see get a tally of how wrong or right he was. I am predicting mostly right. I don't know about that. He thinks most of your predictions will be right. I'm looking forward to hearing anything that you might come up with.
I doubt it very much.
Next year. As with most things, it's the people that make the difference, and I enjoy listening to the banter and obvious friendship between you two. Thanks for all the fun. So, have you got your prediction book? Is it any? Can we
I'll
do that next time? Maybe
it's over there.
So make a note for next time. We'll look at the prediction book. All right. And do you want me to carry on reading, or do you want to?
Yeah. I'm still looking.
Okay, you're still looking. So we had one from Scott. This is an awesome name, Scott Hood. Awesome, man. He's Scott Hood. I like that. It sounds like maybe he's related to Robin Hood or something. And his brother Robin Hood. He says, I am sorry to hear that you
in Nottingham recently.
That's true. I am sorry to hear that you are leaving my life. Wow, that sounds very dramatic. I listened to your podcast while driving on the Washington D.C. belt. I enjoy Fab.
I've got more Zardos cosplay.
Okay. I enjoy Fab's... I'm waiting for this. I enjoy Fab's rants and... Oh, God, there's more of it coming up. So I enjoy... Oh, my God.
That's from a TV show, I think.
Okay, so you're really going to have to look at the show notes, people, on sixgun.org if you want to see what we're talking about. So where are we now? The text keeps moving because the images come in, so I have to find it again. Oh, yeah. So I enjoy Fab's rants and Dan's almost apoplectic response. I don't think I've ever had an apoplectic response to this. Anyway, so I look forward to whatever you you give me with every show. That's when you're like, spitting and like losing it, like getting dead worked up, and that doesn't sound anything like me.
I think he means when you're basically not reacting at all.
I think he means apathetic, doesn't he? Yeah, which is where I'm like, whatever. That sounds more like me. Apoplectic's not really my style. Apathetic, yeah, probably. So every show. Every show you, Dan and Fab, provide me every entertainment that is worth every penny I pay for the show. Well, thanks for that. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of that. So he says, that's interesting. So he talks about the fact that we're not linked to any company. He says, however, Linux Outlaws is not obligated to any company. Also, since you live in different countries, your opinions span my jingoistic obligations. While Linux Outlaws is provided without a fee, it is worth more than I could pay. Oh, that's very nice. So anyway, he goes on to say about OggCamp. This is interesting. So he says about OggCamp, without the promotion of Linux Outlaws, I believe it will dry up. However, hopefully I am wrong, but without the promotion that the podcast gives, OggCamp does not stand a chance. I think that's really interesting because I think you're over-egging the influence that we have on the attendance of OggCamp. This year, I thought about this. So this year we were really shit, and I was as bad as anyone. I kept forgetting to mention it. We hardly mentioned OggCamp this year in the lead up to OggCamp. You listened to some
proved that we have hardly any influence. I mean, there's people. No, I think there's a lot of people at OggCamp who listen to LO, and who's probably a lot of some people probably came there to see us.
Yeah, not many though, I don't think.
But I think they basically learned of LO of OggCamp from LO, and they'll still be going there.
I think so, yeah. And also, I think you can never underestimate how many people are there to see Popey. His hordes of fans will be there for autographs and everything. So, don't underestimate that. Of course, the Ubuntu UK podcast is still going strong and will continue to. I mean, they basically promoted OggCamp this year anyway, as I said, because we never mentioned it. On every show they had, we mentioned it once. I think they mentioned it every show for about 3 months.
That's where all the gender diversity at OggCamp comes from.
That's true, yeah, probably.
Popey's fans.
Popey's fans, yeah. So it says, damn the news. I just want to hear what you have to say. Linux Outlaws is whatever you want it to be, whenever you want. He says, Soccer Outlaws, it's called Football Outlaws. Soccer Outlaws was just okay. I enjoyed listening to your soccer opinions, football opinions. Sorry, I was going to keep saying that. But I do like Linux Outlaws for the Linux part. However, if you want to talk about something else, so be it. My subscription fee is so large, I don't get a say. Okay. So anyway, he says, I'll listen for any updates, have a good time, and keep in touch. So thank you to Scott for that one. That was interesting.
Wow, I fell into a huge rat hole. I need to stop looking.
Okay. Are you still looking at pictures of Sean Connery?
Well, the thing is, you know, Liam Neeson's cock.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you on
this Sean Connery's cock?
Are you on NeesonCock.org?
No,
or whatever.
I'm on a website
Connery's
dedicated to Sean Connery's cock.
Really? I didn't know there was one. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'll look that one up
I'll
later.
send you the link.
Thanks. I'll bookmark that for later. So it says, Russ from Colchester says, "Hey guys, been listening to."
Yes, Lehman Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves.
I don't know about that. It says, "Hey guys,
been for you for later."
Thank you. Hey guys, been listening to LO since somewhere in the hundreds, and it's always been a great mix of news, reviews, and generally entertaining banter. Just want to say thanks for your efforts and wish you all the best for your future projects. Thank you, Russ. That was very nice.
I think it's okay that I'm having you read out all the emails.
That's cool.
But
It's
after
cool.
looking at the WAV file for the last LO, where basically I opened up the WAV file and I could see where the rant was.
There is like a massive section. Yeah. I think I have 9 minutes.
At first, I never know if the top waveform is mine or the bottom one. This time I knew, because on the bottom one there was like a massive thing where only I am talking and just you're going.
I actually went for dinner with some friends during that and came back and went for a little drive in the car, did some shopping, came back and just went
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, but I think it's appropriate with LO ending. When editing the show, and I'm looking at the WAV file, and often I'm said that I'm playing Civilization. Now I've been playing Civilization Beyond Earth. I've got over 70 hours in, which is mostly, I don't have time. I mostly do this while I do the show, while I edit the show.
You're playing it now? They said while we do the show.
Now.
Is that what you're doing? Is that what you're telling me?
Wait a minute, I'm in a three-front war here against the fucking space Brazilians. So I can tell from the waveform if Den's laughing or if he's going like
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, people at the office keep pointing out the fact that I say a lot, like it's a problem. I don't really get the.
That's probably my fault. I trained you to do that on the show.
I know I do that anyway. Well, maybe I don't know, but I do it all the time now. Anyway, so where are we? I've lost the email. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Rob Curry. There's a few accents to come later on from certain people. So it says Rob Curry. I don't know if he's related to Adam Curry. Same spelling. He says hi.
No. Curry spelled with a Y.
Oh, is it? Sorry, right, okay. He says, "Hi guys, it's sad to hear that you are finishing the show. Also, it's a little bit bad that this is my first time writing to you guys, but I felt I had to email before the show finishes. I can't help but think of one of the final episodes of Babylon 5, specifically. Think of the final episode of Babylon 5, specifically the rundown of the future history of mankind. I wonder if you guys would want to make some predictions about the next 10 to 20 years of open source and tech industry."
We'll come back to the prediction thing.
Yeah, that's true. Not quite the 1,000 years of evolution of man, but I think 20 years in tech is equivalent. I think you guys have probably had some impact on my interest in Linux/FOSS ever since I discovered you at undergrad. Okay. Now being a uni researcher doing open source development, I think I'm living part of the dream, and I'm sure you guys have probably slightly shaped my interest in some way. Wishing you both the best, and I know it's not the end, but the show has been very cool. Thanks for all the fun, laughs, and nerd rage. That's really cool.
I find this amazing. I really find it touching when people write and talk about how we actually even if it's in a
I nearly did a Beavis and Butthead. I was going to go, you said touching.
Even if it's just we had people writing in about how they for a year, whatever, they were going home on their commute and they were bored on the bus, and there was this guy who wrote in who would listen to LO and buy a beer at the bus stop when the bus was late and drink a beer and listen to LO on the way home. And that is cool because I know how that goes. I know how that feels. I've listened to podcasts. I can still remember the very first podcast I ever listened to was before Security Now, which was the second podcast I listened to. Was PowerUser.tv. I think it was called. It was by Brett Wardell of Stardog.
All right. Is that still going?
No. That ended ages ago. Even before LO started. The guy who they do Galsif, and they used to do lots of Windows customization stuff. And now they're basically a gaming publisher, I think, mostly. But he was he was a Republican guy and very different, like, from me, but very different viewpoint. But it was a great show. And I can still remember, like, going to my first job at uni, like, because I had to walk, like, 10 minutes or 15 minutes to the place I was working, and I would actually walk. And people were like, why? Katie was going, like, why don't you take the bicycle? And I'm like, no, I like walking. It's, like, nice. I would listen to the podcast, and I can still remember that feeling. And I do still, like, tie podcasts to what I was doing at the time sometimes. When I was listening to them, they're, like, kind of stages in my life. And I find that cool that we had that same impact on other people.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean, I listen to podcasts when I'm doing stuff like the washing up and, just around the house. Since I got one thing we haven't talked about, maybe we can talk about it in future on one of the shows we got left, is I got a Chromecast not so long ago, about 2 months ago or something. I got a Google Chromecast, and since I got that, it's brilliant because I just walk around the house and I've got my Beyond Pod, which I use on my Android devices, is all set up, and you just press the button and it goes straight onto the thing. And I've got that hooked up to the big speakers, so I can walk around the house, just press a button, put a podcast on the big speakers, carry on doing something else, and I'll listen to Hollywood Babylon or Radio Lab or whatever the fuck it is, and just kind of get on with stuff. And it's nice to know that people do that.
Katie and me, actually, we were at the Brigadier's place, and he's got those Sonos things.
Oh yeah.
And I always wanted to get a internet connected radio, but I always thought Katie didn't want that, and she saw the Sonos things, and she's like, I want those. So we're getting 2 of them for Christmas. So they have an app, and you can pay podcasts over that. So I'm gonna use that.
Okay.
I think probably next show or whatever for show. I think you just reminded me. There's 2 things we need to do. One is we need to give a list of podcasts we listen to.
Yeah. People have asked that.
Podcasts that people should listen to. And I think we should talk about how it's basically our life changed.
Okay.
Since LO started. I think we should do a recap of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. As long as we also get to talk about our plans to kidnap the Loch Ness Monster. That was a big thing that we did, obviously. Us and Prince Philip on safari or whatever.
He's a great guy.
He's just crazy.
You don't know this, but he taught me how to shoot a shotgun.
Right, okay, yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, I think I like this when people talk about how LO changed their lives. And, I can't so much talk about you, but we should talk about this at some point because LO has definitely changed my life a lot. I mean, I think I would have never become a journalist if it wasn't for LO, which is a great thing. I think
we should probably talk about that. Yeah, and I mentioned some stories in my blog post about things that happened because of the podcast.
We should do that on the next show.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
To get back to Rob, I actually wrote him an email back because he was talking about the next 1,000 years of evolution of man. And I wrote him an email back. Well, that's easy. And I wrote him. I sent him a timeline of the next 40,000 years, which is of course the Warhammer 40k.
Warhammer. Yeah.
It's a bit sketchy. It's a bit sketchy for until 20, 30,000, but then it gets really detailed. So in the middle there is a dark age where we didn't really know what's going on.
Yeah, okay, so we can read into that. So thanks to Rob for that. We had an email from Martin.
Oh, one more thing. Warhammer 40k gives me faith because I can see where they're dawdling and we're not getting to Mars or anywhere, but by the 41st millennium we'll definitely have colonized space.
Possibly.
So we do have some time.
Yeah, that's possible. So we had an email from Martin Lewis who says, "Hey Dan and Fab, I just wanted to say I'm disappointed that Linux Outlaws is going away, but remain hopeful that the new podcast will be even better. Thank you both very much for the last 7 years. Listening to LO has been an integral part of my week and will be sorely missed. Once again, I wish you all the best of luck for the future. And I hope to hear you again soon." So thanks Martin for that. Torrin Doyle, very similar kind of thing. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so there's a couple of questions in this one. So Torrin Doyle, he sent us lots of emails certainly the last year or more. It says, "Hi Dan and Fab, I was sad to hear that LO is coming to an end. I thought I'd get in a few questions to you guys while there's still time." So his first question was, who comes up with the cool podcast names? Yeah, I think he means the titles of the shows. It tends to be something out of the show that one of us will say, doesn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, the name of the actual podcast for Six Gun I came up with, but the episode titles is just stuff that I think sticks. So for this, sometimes they decide really early and sometimes they're really late. Sometimes I just when I edit them. So this one is going to be free as in GNU piss. That we decided 5 minutes into the show, for example.
Okay, makes sense. And then what else? What else is he asking? He says, "What are your thoughts on?" Oh, this is one we've been asked before. What are your thoughts on BSD? Have you tried it, and if so, what variants? Do you want to go first, or shall I?
I mean, we were going on all through the show. Especially
we should try BSD. Yeah.
We're going on. We should try BSD, and it's.
I have run once a long time ago. I ran on. It was only on a VM as well. I ran a web host web server with NetBSD.
I've had VMs with BSD servers. I've never actually run desktop BSD.
Yeah. I haven't really. I've booted it up like live CDs and played around with it, but I've never used it I actually tried to use it as my main system. It was a bit of a standing. It became a bit of a standing joke during the show that I used to for years go on about. I'm going to do PCBSD. I'm going to try all this stuff out. I'm going to do whatever, and it just never happened. And back in the days before everyone was using USB sticks to install stuff, I was burning. I had a stack of it became standard that a new version of PCBSD had come out, so I'd burn it onto a disk, throw away my old version of PCBSD, and put the disk in the rack or whatever, and then never touch it again. And then the next time another PCBSD came out, I'd throw that one away and get another one in the rack. But I never actually did more than boot them in a live CD. So I never really actually got around to installing it, and I don't know why. But I did run NetBSD on a web server for a while, and it was much like using Linux in many ways.
I played around with server BSDs in VM. I always thought it was kind of just like normal Unix.
Well, it's more like the traditional Unix, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I live and breathe Linux so much. From I used to be a Windows guy, but then I got onto Linux, and I got so used to it that BSD, just like real Unix, feels weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're in this weird parallel universe where everything is kind of the same, but people have
not quite.
Suddenly. The command line suddenly has a goatee.
And sandals and shorts and sandals and
kind of weird. But I mean, that reminds me of another thing while we were reminiscing, and I know the show's getting long, so we need to kind of wrap it up. But the thing you were for a long time, you were distro hopping.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Regularly, and you used to write blog posts and reviews about distros, and then for some reason you stopped, and I can't even remember why. But
no, I can't remember exactly either.
That was you got stuck, I think, even on Ubuntu or something, and I think it was just this thing. You got busy,
I think it probably was. Yeah.
You got busy, and then you just stopped. And
I stayed on Mint for a long time, and I'm still on Linux Mint now.
I think it was Mint. You're right, but then for months and possibly years, you'd be going on I'm gonna gonna take up distro hopping again. I'm gonna do. I mean, we had regular distro hopping features on the show for a while.
That's true. Yeah.
For a while, it became a running joke that you would say, I'm gonna do distro hopping again.
I once, a long time ago, when I very first started a blog, did I think it was a week. No, it was. I used to change every week for months. I would change my distro every week. And write about this week's.
Linux has stolen now.
Yeah, so I'd write about what my week on that distro was, or what it was like.
That's of course where the blog title "Adventures in Open Source" came from.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've actually thought of changing that, but I haven't. I thought of changing the blog title because it's not as descriptive as it once was.
Boredom.
No, I was going to say adventure. What did I say? I can't remember now. I did have another title. It was Adventures in something, and I can't think what it was. Anyway. Adventures of a Curious Mind, it was.
Oh, that's
quite good. Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking, it'd just be anything I'm curious about. So
do blog posts about mushrooms.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah. I'll get some reindeers in here. We'll have a party. It'll be good. Wake up with a couple of reindeer. That could be interesting. that's a hell of a morning where you wake up next to a reindeer, and you realise, things haven't quite gone to plan. Anyway, so
quite normal in Sweden actually.
It probably is, yeah, certain some rural areas. Anyway, so we had an email from one of our one of our favourite correspondents, fella in white.
Chile.
Yeah, as the Queen would say. He says, "Well, you pair of absolute bastards! For feck's sake, be Jesus, I'll have to put in as much feckin' Irish stereotypical gibberish in me email, so Dan doesn't have to. It doesn't go into some sort of lack of impersonation coma." I can't. I'm losing it now. To be sure, to be sure. Yeah, he says. Now then, sure that'll see. Sure that'll see you through to the through and soft. What was that? Through and soft day to be sure. Oh, fucking hell, it's carrying on. Soft day to be sure. Top of the morning to you. Anyways, he says.
What's the Gora thing?
I think that's like a Gaelic type thing, isn't it? Or yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm probably just
Top of the morning.
Top of the morning to you, yeah. So he says, for fuck's sake, I can't keep that up. It's terrible news, lads. But I understand how you feel, and I enjoyed them all, even if they were late. But I'm hoping you don't disappear into the ether. You are a great. I'm losing it now. I've gone Scottish now. You are a great team. Yeah, I've gone like groundskeeper Willie. Hang on, I've got to get it back now.
Can you
I can't get it back. You are a great team, and I enjoy your waffling. So I think a bit of humour is required. So this is not a funeral. He says there's a town in Ireland, I kid you not, called Muff, Muff, in County Donegal. You scoff, surely not for Liam, but that's a load of bollocks. Well, here it is, and he gives us it on OpenStreetMap. The link.
It is on there.
Yeah, but this is the best bit. He says, now, in such a coastal town, they have such vibrant aquatic pastimes. He says, well, and he gives us a link to, and I kid you not, the Muff Diving Club, which is at muffdivingclub.ie. And it's a real diving club.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and you can buy T-shirts, and apparently I don't think it can't be a real diving club. It's got to be.
I think those T-shirts are selling quite well.
Yeah, you can buy mugs and T-shirts, and so I'll put a link in the IRC. If you're not in the IRC, listen to the podcast. It's very easy to find. It's at muffdivingclub.ie. Is the website. So there you go. Well, thanks very much for that.
Well, they've been in the press.
Oh my God, they're doing boxer shorts now as well. Wow.
I've seen on the Poke,
yeah,
FHM,
Channel 4.
and Forbes, and Channel 4.
Channel 4 in the UK.
That'd be interesting, them saying that with a straight face, doing a report on the Muff Diving Club.
There was a thing, wasn't there, on
shop.
There's a thing on QI they were talking about where Facebook and other things have banned. Well, they ban automatically like swear words and stuff, and they ban names of towns where it's got like swear in it. And
there was this lady from
Effin. It was called EFFIN Effin, and she'd put like I'm a proud effing woman, and I always will be an effing woman, and all that stuff. So, it was good. So, anyway, thank you to Feline for that one. We'll put a link in the show notes. John Everett, who I don't know.
I do like, if you go to their shop, they have avoided the obviously sexist trap. So they do have shirts which where it actually says men's. Muff Diving Organic Men's T-shirt.
They're clearly making that up, But good on them. Good on them.
The women's shirts don't. Oh yeah, here we go. Muff Diving Organic Women's Fitted T-shirt.
There you go. It's good to be equal opportunities and all that.
Press.
There you go. So I'm putting a link in the IRC for everyone.
The hoodie.
They've got a Cafe Press account. There you go.
I wonder if they have sex toys.
Yeah.
They've got everything. They've got diaries. They've got buttons.
Yeah, actually, you've reminded me of something there. Have you probably? I don't think you have them in Germany, but there's a chain of shops in the UK that do like secondhand games and electronics and shit like that. And it's the name of the shop is CEX Computer Exchange or something.
Yes. No, they're only in the UK.
Okay, yeah. So apparently some people say that sex.
Yes.
So So they say they're going to a sex shop, and what they mean is they're going to exchange some more video games.
My colleague Chris at the age used to do that. He sold all kinds of shit. Yeah. So we're selling stuff, and the first time he said, so we're in town, like DJ, me and Chris are in town, right?
Yeah.
And Chris just goes off saying, well, I'm going to go to the sex shop over there. And I look at DJ like I've been in the UK for like 2 weeks. I look at DJ like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I recently learned what a private shop was.
Oh, really?
In Nottingham. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. A gentleman's shop.
We'll just call them sex cinema in Germany.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll just put on the front what it is.
Yeah, we like to be a little more subtle than that, although we're not really fooling anyone.
This is a sex cinema. You can watch ladies fuck men in here.
Or vice versa, or whatever.
The Sean Connery link.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you looked at the Sean
Connery? Have I looked at it? No, I haven't. No, I've been looking at the email.
Cock.
I haven't. Shall I? Oh, God.
Yeah, you need to.
There we go.
That needs to,
Oh, my God. Oh, the title is Sean Connery Erect.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I've got to turn. I'm turning it off now because it's far too.
Dan going.
It's far too interesting. It'll distract me. So, John Everett sent us an email. He says, "I've been listening almost from day one. I was/am God Zero from the TLLTS chat.
Oh yeah.
Can't say I didn't expect this. 365 is a long run. I really liked listening to you on my long-ass commute in the early days. Fab was always a bit crazy. Fab was always a bit crazy one, and Dan would reel him in. Like two sides of a coin. During my days at IBM, I'd listen on the weekends. When I moved to CenturyLink, I'd listen again on my long-ass commute. He says, I feel like we're old friends, Linux, open source, random shit of the day. The trouble with the H, the love. I love that shit. Yeah, I love that site. Sorry, I love that shite. I said that. I love that shite. It's Sean Connery. I love that shite. I don't know why I suddenly went more Irish there. So he says the news was good. The kernel info was great. I was a bit worried about Fab. I even think I sent him an email of support. All right, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
He says, you guys, damn, I wish I just had so much fun with you. You're your friend/fan in Minneapolis, St. Paul, John Everett. So thanks, John, for that. He says, oh, yeah, there are a few tears. Thanks for all the good times and all that are coming. All right, nice.
We're coming back. Don't worry, there'll be a show.
Yeah, they will.
Can't stop us from podcasting.
Thank you, John, for that.
Yes.
God Zero. Steve Bickle says, thanks for 7 years of LO. I appreciate the work you and Fab have done put into it over the years. And then he tells us about a thing called the Reglue project. It's REGLUE. Yeah, so it says the Reglue project run by Ken Starks, related to Tony Starks. No, he's not. Iron Man, Ken Starks, Iron Man. Sorry. Says Reglue project run by Ken Starks. I'm just thinking about Iron Man now. Puts Linux.
About him. That's the Texan guy who decked some guy.
Oh shit! Yeah. In a petrol station, they call them gas stations.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Texas Express.
Yeah. Okay. Texas, yeah. So anyway, I should be more serious given the subject. So it says the Reglue project is run by Ken Starks and puts Linux in second-hand computer kit to get underprivileged kids online. I first heard about it on Hacker Public Radio mailing list that they are currently trying to raise funds for the next year with an Indiegogo campaign, which runs until the 29th of November. So you've got a bit of time.
We should have the show out by then.
We should have the show out by then. So if you're listening to this and it's before the 29th of November, you know what to do. It says, it would be great if you could let the LO audience know of this. I'm sure it's the kind of project we would all support. And then he gives us a link to the Indiegogo, which we'll put in our show notes, obviously, which you can find at 6gun.org.
I just support people who deck other people for running Windows.
Yeah, there's that. But there's also, what a great idea for a project. You know, using old second-hand computers and putting Linux on them and giving them to people who need them and stuff. That's really cool. So if you follow the link at 6gun.org in the notes for this show, then you'll be able to find it there. Or if you go to Indiegogo and search for Deleting the Digital Divide, apparently is the name of the project, That's quite interesting. So thanks to Steve for that one. Chance for an Australian accent now. It's Phil in Australia. Says, first I must apologise.
Goodbye.
As it appears I bring death to podcasts. Death? It might be death. So, like radio ended around 12 months after I started listening. He says, some other less-known podcast died not long after I started listening. And now I've done the same to you after 12 months. I'm sorry about that. He says, having said that, it's been great to listen to you guys on my drive to and from work, kind of weekly, for the last year or so, helping keep me up to date and give me some ideas along the way. Thank you for all your time and efforts in putting the show together. Thanks, Phil, for that.
When an Aussie says drive to and from work, kind of, that always worries me a bit.
Well, given the size of Australia, I think he said weekly drive. I was wondering if it takes him a week to drive to work and back, because it's a big country. So.
Well, the Royal Flying Doctor Service.
Ah, maybe, yeah, that's true.
Victor Charlie, this is Mike Sierra Foxtrot.
It could be, yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was work, kind of. I thought he was kind of some kind of Australian Tony Soprano.
Oh, maybe.
What do you do? Waste
management, yeah, working waste disposal. Anyway, so thanks to Phil for that. That was really nice. Brian says, I've been listening to... Brian with an I, yeah, says, I've been listening to Linux. That's the most common spelling in England. Yeah. I've been listening to...
The most common spelling generally.
I think it probably is, yeah. I've been listening to Linux Outlaws for a couple of years now in Mill Bay, British Columbia, Canada. Interesting. He says, I tuned in while looking for shows about Linux, but the more I have listened...
They have to say that it's in Canada because it says British Columbia.
Well, that's because technically it's British.
Yeah.
Well, technically it still is, but they just don't know.
You'll find, just like the Loch Ness Monster.
Exactly. Yeah, we were going to kill Canada and bring it back and put it in the Natural History Museum.
The Loch Ness Monster. You remember that?
Yeah, it could be. Maybe that's where the Loch Ness Monster went, to Canada to get away. Could have escaped, yeah. So it says, I tuned in while looking for shows about Linux, but the more I have listened to the show, the more I have enjoyed, more I've noticed it's not about Linux. The more I've enjoyed the banter and the BS on other topics. He says, I enjoy the occasional rant, but in most cases I agree anyway. Thanks for putting together such a good show for so long. I look forward to hearing about what you may be doing in future. Thank you to Brian for that. That was cool.
Yep.
Monster.
And I go, monster.
And I said, damn, I give you $3.50. Anyway, that's one of my favorite episodes of South Park. She gave him $1. Anyway, I give him $1. Anyway, if you haven't seen that, you won't know what the hell we're talking about. It's a South Park.
Woman?
Yeah. Why do you give him $1? He's going to assume you got more. So, which is, he said, and I said, damn it, monster, I ain't giving you no $3.50. And he said, well, how about $2.50? And I said, oh, so now it's only $2.50. Is it a sale on Loch Ness Munches? Anyway, watch South Park if you don't know what we're talking about. So finally we got one from Imran Chowdhury, who says, first off, good meeting you at Odd Camp last month. Sad to hear that the show is ending, but I guess all good things come to an end. He says, ideas for the last few shows. Your observations of how things have changed in the world of Linux over the lifetime, I should say over our lifetime, over the lifetime of the show, e.g. the rise of Ubuntu, smartphones and Android. Actually, yeah, that is a big difference, isn't it? When you think about anyway, we'll talk about it another time in depth, I think. Social coding and GitHub, Linux as a games platform.
I think everything's turned to shit.
Yeah, he says...
Except for games, maybe.
Yeah, he says your predictions for the future. Again,
everything will turn to more shit.
Right, okay. Standout moments from the show, replay them. Oh, that could be difficult, but we can try.
That's work.
That is work, yeah. So he says thanks and all the best. Thank you to Imran for that. Yeah, we could probably we should talk about, well, you said we'll go back and talk about the changes of that have happened during the show. So I think we should do that, definitely.
We should do that next show, like reminisce and then talk about, that Linux and
that Linux. Talk about that Linux and then
that Linux stuff.
Yeah, something like that. So that is the end of the big, massive load of emails for tonight. Thank you to everyone who sent us an email. If you do want to email us, you need to send your messages to linuxoutlaws@sixgun.org. That's linuxoutlaws@sixgun.org. Send us an email. let us know what you're thinking.
I'm so
Fab's still
drunk, I
smacking
just-
his microphone.
Yeah.
So we've been the last 2-3 weeks, whatever it's been, and we've been finishing the show with a song, one of our favourite songs from previous shows and so on. And I really thought we couldn't finish the last 5 shows without having at least a song from David Rovics, who's been a big discovery for both of us during the life of the show. And also we got to hang out with him as well. A really nice guy.
We've met him. He's a really nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. And
This is from my favorite album of his, Halliburton Boardroom Massacre.
yeah.
Awesome.
And this song was originally played on Linux Outlaws number 114, which was in October 2009.
Wow, you did some research. I can remember him playing this when we were in Bonn. And Ilke and the Brigadier and Jan and friends, we were at Bonn in Bonn in the Irish pub. And it was really small, and I can remember belting this out at the top of my lungs. And the cool thing about David is he's like, even if it's a small venue and he's just playing acoustic guitar, and you're like kind of drunk and belting out the song, he's really happy. Some crazy Germans belting out the song. And I have fond memories of that. And actually, this is the song's called RPG. You know, rocket propelled grenade.
Grenade, yeah.
Awesome song if you need to burn down some barricades.
Yeah.
It's great, and it's actually very fitting because this weekend we had a big Nazis were marching in Hanover.
That's a collection of lots of Nazis, not a collection of big Nazis
Yeah,
who are
no,
like fat or something.
well, some of them have had
the
as well.
sumo Nazi club, you know.
Fucking neo-Nazis, and they like Katie and me wanted to go into town. You know, Katie does like sewing, and we wanted to buy what do you call that stuff? Fabric.
Oh right.
And
Were
they
you gonna
closed
make a
that.
shirt?
There's like a market. Yeah.
You're trying to make a sexist shirt? Is that what you were trying to do?
No, she's refusing. Well, not about the sexy shirt. You'd probably do that. No, I wanted her to do me a Star Trek uniform, like to make. And she made. This woman. I swear to God, she's trolling me. She made a neck scarf from out of Star Trek Ops color.
Oh.
The material she bought was the perfect material to make that yellow gold, you know, the golden stripe on the Star Trek uniform, and she made a scarf out of it. Anyway, she's refusing to make me a Star Trek uniform, but maybe a sexist shirt next time. But we couldn't buy any. We couldn't buy any fucking because the fucking Nazis were in town, and they were like this. You know, I don't know if you heard that they kind of destroyed Cologne.
I didn't know that. No, that was not reported widely in the UK.
They made this. This is like the hooligans. Who surprise teamed up with the Nazis.
There's a surprise.
Surprise there to fight Islamists in Germany, but it's basically an excuse to dress up like Hitler and walk down the street. And they basically completely wrecked the Cologne inner city because the police wasn't prepared. And then they said, okay, we're going to do this next in Berlin. And Berlin said, no, not going to happen. We're not going to allow this. Then I said, we're going to do it in Hamburg. City of Hamburg said, no, I'm not going to allow this. Next choice was Hanover. And City of Hanover said, yeah, we'll let them do this. And I thought this is a really bad idea. But actually, we weren't there. But like the police was... a colleague of mine was actually there at basically 4,000 Nazis turned up.
Wow.
And 6,000 demonstrators on the other side. So these were like left people, Catholics, like Protestants.
Basically everybody who's not a Nazi.
The MLPD, the Marxist-Leninist Party of Germany.
Yeah.
Everybody. And apparently the police was so... They had fucking tanks. And apparently they were ringing the marching route, and they were standing 4 rows deep, and like protecting everybody. And it's like this is like the fucking Roman army.
I was gonna say it sounds like Lord of the Rings or something.
Yeah, looks like the fucking
not pass.
the first row gets like their face bashed in, and they just switch rows.
Did Ian McKellen turn up and go,
No,
you shall not pass?
Sadly not. But apparently, like, because you have the left, the autonom, the guys who want to bash the Nazis' face in.
Mhm.
and they don't like the police also. So
Yeah.
according to a colleague, what they did is they had all the women
Mm.
in the police force in the first row,
Okay.
because
Operation
the
Human
Nazis
Shield.
don't care, but when they actually kept the left people at bay, so because they actually would be reluctant to beat like so they had like all these like blonde women in the first row, and behind them were like these guys who were like 3 heads taller than them, like huge fucking. So they would have done, probably if they attacked the first row, they would have just done a switcheroo.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if I was, there, I would have bolted out. Basically, I don't go to these things out of my own protection,
Okay.
because if I go to that, I just want to like hit Nazis in the face, which usually ends with you getting arrested, not the Nazis.
That's true. Yeah. What you need is an RPG. Bringing it back to the song. What you needed was an RPG.
Sang David Rovitz songs. I should have done that.
Yeah.
This is the song you need in this.
Also, it gives a rare opportunity for some air banjo. So, if you fancy a bit of air banjo playing, this is a song you could do that too.
The Nazis don't have choppers, but song still works.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and so this has been a bumper show. It's nearly 2.5 hours. It's pretty good going. So let's have a listen to David Rovitz with a song called RPG. If you want to find him, go to davidrovitz.com. If you can't work out how to spell it, go to our website. There'll be links. Or just Google and it'll turn up. Halliburton Boardroom Massacre is the album. It's really good.
Yeah. And don't mind me belting. I hope the neighbors won't mind me belting this out.
Okay.
Full force.
That's getting knees up, hoe down.
And just be prepared. These will be, these songs the shows might be long. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
It's the last 4 shows. Who gives a fuck?
That's true. All right, and so have a listen to this, and we'll see you next time, which I think is next week, next Monday, supposedly. So if you're hearing this probably on the weekend, it should be the 24th, Monday the 24th. So come along and say hello. And have a listen to this. This is David Rovitz with RPG. We'll see you next time.
My grenade launcher.
I was at a demonstration somewhere in this great nation. Millions of riot cops were milling everywhere. They were eating meatball subs, they were swinging billy clubs. Then there came a thunderous noise right above us in the air. RPG, RPG. I can hear the people all shouting out with glee. And when I look up to the sky, I can't help but wonder why that helicopter's circling right above me. RPG. I was singing like a bird, just trying to be heard, singing on the stage some wistful melody. And there seemed to be consensus with that copter up above us. There was just one song now that might have a harmony. RPG, RPG. I can hear the people all shouting out with glee. And when I look up to the sky, I can't help but wonder why that helicopter's circling right above me. RPG. As we gathered up and tased, we were happily amazed that the medics had the water for to flush our eyes for gas. But what was really most impressive, though perhaps a bit aggressive, was when 100 bodies spelled 3 letters on the grass. RPG, RPG. I can hear the people all shouting out with glee. And when I look up to the sky, I can't help but wonder why that helicopter's circling right above me. RPG, 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 RPG.
Oh, I messed that up, but I was trying to play along.
That's good enough.
This is out of tune. I found a banjo, but it's really out of tune.
As I told you before, you can't notice. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can't really tell the banjo. Yeah, there we go. I think that's enough of
Last
that.
banjo.
That's like Dave Lister's guitar playing.
Just imagine you're like at a demonstration, you're singing this. This is a police chopper above, and you're just like RPG,
Yeah.
RPG. You can hear the people shouting out with glee. I love the bit where he goes. What was actually quite impressive when they had the water for the flush eyes from gas.
from the gases.
Songwriting right there.
Yeah, and the thing is, knowing him, that's probably true.
Yeah, you know that he's listening.
Yeah. That is very true. All right, and so I think that's going to do it for tonight. I'm going to stop my recording.
When they were talking about that, I was talking about the Convoy song. You know, they even had pigs in the air.
That's right. Yeah. That's what he talks about. He keeps talking about bears, doesn't he?
Yeah, the bears in the air.
There's bears everywhere.
They even have bears in the air.
That's right. Yeah. We got ourselves a convoy.
It's such an amazing song. Yeah. I keep doing Euro Truck Simulator and playing that song.
It's on the GTA 5 soundtrack, isn't it?
And steal a truck in GTA and just go.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
Like all the police cars going, woo, 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 and you're just going past them.
What's he called? K-Rock, is it? K-Rock.
Yeah.
I never, whatever it's called, I can't remember now. The country.
Outlaw Country.
Outlaw Country. Yeah.
Those fucking sequins are,
Yeah.
You don't need sequins on your shirt, and we got real Outlaw Country.
Yeah. All right. And so Mitzi's asking if this is made from camphor wood. I don't know, to be honest. I have no idea. It's not particularly expensive. It is a proper
looks
banjo.
That way on the back.
It's a proper banjo. Yeah. It's not like It was my dad's, but he never really learned to play it.
Isn't your
He gave it
dad?
to me. Yeah, he gave it to me, and I haven't actually got it.
There's something. If he owns a banjo, there's an untold story there. I sense he was a hippie.
Yeah, I bet, maybe. Yeah. Hippies with banjos. Well, Pete Seeger used to play that kind of thing.
Wouldn't he could he go to Wales and sit in the countryside and go? Burr, 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 burr.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. So I did many years ago learn how to play about 3 chords on the banjo, and I've forgotten them now, but I will learn again at some point. On that banjo, in fact, I learned to play some stuff. So maybe I'll get into that. That's something I can do on some of my time off. I'll come back with like a banjo podcast where
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I'll come back like Robert Johnson disappeared for like a year and came back and he was amazing on the guitar. I'll come back and I'll be blazing the banjo. Like, banjo solo.
Banjos?
Blazing. You are?
Are they e-banjos?
Yeah, probably. I'm sure there will be electric banjo.
If they're not, then...
No, there will be. Yeah. I mean, you can get electric violins and electric everything else. There's got to be electric banjos.
A colleague of mine just bought a theremin.
Oh, wow. They're cool.
Mm.
They are very cool.
Cork makes them.
Yeah. Lots of people, I thought, made them. Do you know... Did you know that the theremin was invented by a Russian scientist who was trying to make a motion detector?
Yeah.
That's what he'd been told to do, was to make an alarm, like a motion sensor. And when he came up with that thing where you get near it and you go like, and all that stuff. And it didn't really work as an alarm.
He was probably from Siberia and he was on the deer piss.
Yeah, it didn't really work as an alarm, but it did work pretty well.
The one he bought is the first. This is the first digital one.
Mm.
So you can calibrate it. You can calibrate like you calibrate the space you have, and then you calibrate the octaves.
Mm. Yeah. It is pretty amazing, and you do the volume with your other hand, and yeah, it's very complicated. I found an electric banjo. I'm just putting a picture in the so this is what I want for an electric banjo. It's like AC/DC style. Gibson SG type electric banjo. It's called a Deering. I don't know. I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to hear it. Okay, so where are we?
Yeah, that's
pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, people are saying.
I never understood like the one. The one string that just goes to like half.
Oh, that top one. Yeah. That's a really high string. So it sounds weird because normally with a guitar, you like the lower, the further up the neck, the further up
Alright.
the lowest string will be at the bottom, but the highest string's at the top.
So is it the other way around? Is the lowest string at the bottom?
No, that's the thing. The others are all the same. So your lowest one, so you got your 4 strings, and then at the top you've got a little thin one for some reason.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so there you go. I think this needs some new strings actually.
Yeah, this just reminds me of Pete Seeger.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting instrument. Plus, of course, if somebody breaks into your house, you can always hit them with it, which is quite handy for that. So you can
Well, that or just use a Telecaster.
Or if in a hillbilly break-in.
Yeah. Or just use the Telecaster.
Mike's just gone off. Oh no, there we go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You know Roy Buchanan.
Yeah.
He used to there's a famous story where he used to go around New York to like blues clubs, and he didn't have a case for his telly. He'll just carry it around, and apparently he just got assaulted by a guy with a knife in an alley behind a club. So he just used his he used it as an actual an axe, like a battle axe.
Yeah,
he
I can
just
believe
grabbed
that.
it by the headstock and just whacked the guy.
I can believe that, yeah.
And he used to show people like the dents on the telebody. He was like, "This is where I bashed the guy's face in."
Well, they used to say that there's that saying like, couldn't hit a barn door or something like that to mean someone who can't shoot straight or someone who can't hit straight. There's an old saying, you couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo, and that's as you'd imagine, swinging a banjo at a cow's arse, which is fairly easy to hit. But people would say, you couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo.
Cow's ass. Oh, it's easier to hit Kim Kardashian's ass.
Well, yeah, now maybe it'll be...
Gravity just curves around it.
Yeah, you can't miss.
You know that episode of Next Generation when the Enterprise is hit and is stuck in that gravity well thing, and out, they're like, "What 9? Can't get out of this thing." This is what it feels like.
Excellent. All right then.
It's like for what's his face?
I'm lost now.
Her husband.
Whose husband?
Kim's.
Oh, Kanye West.
That guy.
Him, yeah, he's a dick.
He's like trapped in the gravity well.
Oh yeah.
Can't get out.
Kanye West. Anyway, let's not get on to Kanye West.
Creative genius.
Fuckwit he is. Who can't spell genius? Yeah, I am a genius, but I can't always spell the word genius right. Oh, fucking hell.
Well,
anyway, maybe. So I'm going to start recording and I'm going to stop broadcasting as well. So thank you to everyone for listening and watching.
See you all.
I'm just going to do my.
You're getting your money's worth with these.
Actually, you might be able to answer this. Someone asked me the other day whether it's like with the thumb today. In fact, someone asked me whether the thing is thumb out or thumb in. Like that.
That's interesting because I think Nimoy, who came up with it, does the thumb in.
Okay.
But a lot of other people, especially Next Generation, do the thumb out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Nimoy does kind of like.
I'll take Leonard Nimoy's thing if he invented it. That sounds.
Nimoy's hands are weird though. He's got like long fingers.
His ears are weird. No, his ears are definitely weird. Anyway, do you know they don't put any makeup on him to do that role? He just looks like that. It's amazing.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Anyway, all right, and so I'm going to stop the Icecast as well. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, you're getting your money's worth here.
Yeah, in hours worth. All right.
Live long and prosper.
Remember,
I have always been.
I am and always shall be. Your friend.
Your friend.
God!